Hey, Gearheads. Hey, Tar Heel State Hangers. It's Pickle, and you are on. We're starting season 2, episode 2 of the Hanging with Pickle, and Mike's out on the road, hooking and towing. So you got me tonight. So for whatever that's worth. Also, we've got a very special, action-packed episode tonight. We've got some of the biggest names in the hammock quilt community, and we are going to discuss quilts and feathers and down and insulation and the do's, the don'ts, the myths. We're going to answer all your questions and hopefully get it cleared and straightened out. I guess I may just have my volume up too much. Sorry about that. So let me get the guys on without further ado. Let's see. From Cedar Ridge Outdoors, we've got Richard. From Jack's Are Better, we've got Don and Dave.
Hey, how's it going?
And finally, but last but not least, we've got the new kid on the block from Trailheads. We've got John Rammel. Evening, guys. How's it going?
Hello.
Hey.
I want to apologize to my guests and everybody watching the show. This pre-party started about a half hour, 45 minutes ago. So we've been having a good time. Dutch stopped by to say hi and get everybody cranky and fired up. Sound is so bad. Apologize. Why is my sound bad? Let's see here.
Chris, I don't know if you can hear me, but it's still showing me as being backstage.
Yeah, there's a delay on the YouTube versus
Pickle. Other people are saying it's okay, so it's
okay.
Sounds
All
like
right,
you
sweet.
there.
All right, might be on the user's end, but awesome. So let me run down who we got here tonight because we are cruising right along. Jenny brought in the lead. Blair's here. Hey, Scotty coming in from the West Coast. Dosey's in. Emery with Autumn Ultralights in. Christy Pixley's coming in from Nashville. I hope your foot and wrist is feeling better. Let's see. Alex Zuckerman's calling in from an island somewhere in the Atlantic. We'll just leave it at that. Let's see. She's already starting off the rails. Let's see. Jerry Dehart's calling in from is hanging out at Yates. Good deal. Shannon's in from Kentucky. Scott Zabel, what's going on? Oyama is coming in. Mr. Glenn Shear's here. Avery's coming in from Outdoor Outfitters. All right. Let's see. We've got international access from Little Shop of Hammocks. Welcome, welcome to the Dirty, Dirty South. So let's wow, we are cruising right along. There's no point in waiting for everybody to show up. Hey, I want to thank everybody for showing up on time to this. Other than Richard, who's now just showing up for this. Let me switch over to my notes. Let's see. You know what? Let's start off because not everybody knows everybody in the show. Who are you? What do you do? And how long have you been making quilts? And what's your claim to fame on your quilts?
Don, give
Richard.
him the
No, let's go Don, since Don's the Don and maybe the Godfather.
Well, the company's been making quilts since 2003. I started using them in 2005, became the lead beta tester in 2008, and Jack tricked me into buying the company with Dave back in 2018.
Awesome sauce. Richard?
We started in 2016. Warren started the company in 2016. I came in shortly after. We were friends and classmates before that, and came in. So that's when we started. I guess our claim to fame is we do custom stuff, all the way down to the stitching and all that. Just full custom.
And John?
We put our first quilts together in 2017 and started putting them out more late 2018 into 2019. And I guess our claim to fame on them is the weight at this point.
Okay. So I'm just going to dive right into the questions that I've been trolling the interwebs as I do. And you know what, Glenn? I know good and well you showed up for me. I think I've got an email from you saying, I can't wait to see you on your podcast Thursday night. And if I don't, I know enough people and I'm good enough at computers to make it, look legit. So, but anyway, thanks for coming to see my friends and yours, the team. All right. Does a higher fill power mean a warmer quilt?
No.
First off,
Nope.
what is fill power?
This guy Phil with a cape.
Warren.
Hey, I'm back.
There he is. Saving
back.
lives.
Also, Warren's out here saving lives, so he's working tonight. So if he just hops up and runs away, it's one of the benefits that you get with dealing with cottage vendors and people that are doing this out of love more so than out of just a paycheck. With Warren we're running the EMS tonight, so if the bell goes off, I'm assuming he's going to bounce.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Warren likes to talk about fill power. Explain fill power, Warren.
Fill power?
Yep.
So what was the question about fill
Question
power?
is, does a higher fill power mean a warmer quilt? Let's
No.
just go ahead and what is fill power?
So the number that you get for fill power, whether it be 600, 700, 800, 850, 9,000, whatever, is that number is the amount of cubic inches of airspace that 1 ounce of that down will fill. So if you have a 800 quilt, 1 ounce of 800 fill power down will fill 800 cubic inches of airspace.
Okay.
And
Here's one we get all the time. What's warmer, duck or goose?
It's all about
doesn't
fill
matter.
power.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all about
the time,
loft. It just takes more
Yeah,
of a
it's-
lower fill power.
So how down works,
Like that
a lot of
loft.
people, I don't know if this is one of your questions of why down works the way it does. So down works by trapping heat in an airspace that the down
Okay.
fills. So that's the fill power has nothing to do with how warm the quilt is. That just how much down we have to put in to achieve the required loft to make a quilt warm enough. So the loft is where you're going to get your warmth, which
Okay.
is the height of the quilt. So say you lay it flat and you have 2.5 inches, 3.5 inches of loft on that quilt on a single layer, that would translate into your temperature rating.
At the lowest point.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so summing that up, catch up with everybody that may
What's so funny?
have missed the technicalities. The fill power has absolutely nothing to do with quilt warmth.
Right.
So what's the importance of fill power?
Wait.
So,
Yeah.
it takes out weight. It's just
The higher the fill power down, the less down you have to use to achieve that same loft.
Okay.
So you'd have to use a whole lot less 850 down than you would 600 down to achieve the same loft in a quilt or the same temperature rating in a quilt.
Okay.
So the higher the fill power, the lighter that down's going to be in the quilt.
and that's in like a scientific cube, right? Like they measure that in a plexiglass thing, or even that. So one of the things that
Oh,
does
look. Hey, y'all. John brought
pictures.
I'm
Some
trying to
prop-
figure out how
he
to work
brought
the camera so I
props.
can show it.
So I used to have this box that was my scientific thing, and it was marked out like for certain heights for airspace, like certain
Mhm.
cubic inches of airspace. It was marked out, so I could just take an ounce of down, dump it in that box, and let it sit for 24 hours, and come back and
Gotcha.
see what the if it's the close to what it's supposed to be fill
Okay.
power wise, stuff like that. But our supply chains have gotten better over the years, so I don't have to make sure we're
Judge them as much.
I
Just
don't have
check
to.
occasionally.
Yeah.
All right, John, explain to me what you got going on in the mason jars, because that's not what I'm used to seeing in your mason jars.
Everybody's got a different source, I think, out of the three of us, but fill power is going to loft about the same regardless of your source. At least that's been my experience.
Mhm.
So this jar is the 850. This is 900. You can see there's not a whole lot of difference. There's just a little bit of difference between them. And then
Wait,
this
so
one over
John, is
there
that all the
1000.
same weight? Is that what you're saying? So is that is that an ounce of down or a couple ounces of down? You got the
I
same.
couldn't hear that last part.
So what you're saying is you've got the same weight of down.
How much
All of
down's
this
in
is
each jar?
1.5 grams. 1.5 grams in each one.
Right.
Gotcha.
That I just figured that would be a good way. I knew I had all three of them on hand to be able
Yep.
to give the viewers a visual of the difference between the three of them, because that's something that all of us get regularly. Is well, which down's better?
Right.
Which one has more, loft to it or whatever?
Right.
Joe, how else would you transfer unicorn fur? I'm just saying, down comes in jars now, of course. How else would you transfer unicorn fur? All right, so let's see. And we'll get to that one a little bit later. Let's since it's early on, somebody want to touch base on quilt ratings, upper limits, lower limits, comfort, survivability? Has anybody got that?
One of the myths that I've seen online, some of the bigger, I guess.
Yeah, I want the myths. I mean, if we're gonna call it out on the carpet, let's
use a EN rating for a quilt. There's no such thing.
Okay, but I thought that's what European numbers, and isn't that the standard for your quilt?
That test is designed for a mummy bag, a zip-up mummy bag with a hood.
Yep.
That is the only thing that test is designed for. It does not work with quilts. Because quilts, for one, don't zip up around you. They don't have a hood.
Nope.
So it's anybody who says their quilts are EN rated is feeding you a load of bull.
Okay.
To further that, the EN testing assumes that all users are a certain age, height, weight, and also assumes that you are using a sleeping pad along with your sleeping bag, which isn't going to work with a quilt. It might work with a top quilt on the ground, but it's not going to work for an underquilt.
Right.
Oh, here's a good follow-up question from Marcus Imes. How is it the 850 jar only has half the down as the 1000, but the difference is only 15%? Does down power scale exponentially somehow?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not really, but you do notice a definite difference in the amount of fluff that you get with an 850 versus 1000.
It's sort of a density thing, but also a structural integrity thing, right? Like 1000 fill power is so light to the touch that if a light breeze would go on it, it actually collapse the fiber. Right? So 850 is just a little bit stiffer and stronger.
Yeah, that's one of my things. Besides the weight, me and Don were talking about this earlier. I get the ultralight thing for sure, but my preference is around 850 or so, just because it's got that kind of pushback to it, where when you push on it, it doesn't just collapse as easy.
Right.
And
it does not take as long to loft back up.
Right.
And one of the experiences we had, because we were using 900 fill for a while, before we switched back to just doing the 850. And that was, we had a lot of customers when we were using the 900 fill. They were calling us and saying, there's not enough down in this quilt. This quilt doesn't feel like it's got enough in it. They're used to that feel of being able to feel that feel in there. When you're getting that really high fill power down, it's not there. It's there, but it's not there.
James with Little Shop of Hammocks has made a good point. Also, remember when they test it for fill power, they have a weight that will push down. So typically that 1,000 wouldn't look as high in a proper testing chamber.
Yep.
Yeah, none of our tests here tonight, guys, are scientifically backed. I'm not here for that. I'm just here to give you the real information from the real people that have their hands in feathers and down all day, every day.
To answer the question about why it is half as much, see how many little tendrils are sticking off of that right there? All of those take up space and push off of each other. The 850 doesn't have as many of those. It's got more of the thicker center.
Right.
So you don't have the down on the 850. It's more cluster on cluster, whereas the 1,000, it's got all the little spindly arms coming off of it, and those push off of each other.
All right, Jenny says it's all over her head, so let's get it down to Jen A's level. If not, you and I can get together later on, and I will break it down for you.
So, Jenny, the fill power, the only thing you're getting, the only thing fill power is doing is making something lighter or heavier. The higher the fill power, the lighter the quilt's going to be. The lower the fill power, the heavier the quilt's going to be. It's achieving the same thing. Let's say you want 2.5 inches of loft of height in your quilt. Then a 500 fill power is going to take a lot more down to create that 2.5 inches of loft than an 850 fill power. It doesn't make a warmer quilt. It makes a heavier quilt. And that's the basics of fill power and loft. And that's how down works, is off of loft. It's trapping heat in that area, in that height. And so the more loft you have, the warmer the quilt will be. The lower the fill power, the heavier the quilt will be.
Right. So that's one of the things that Richard just touched on there. The reason we've gone to quilts now is because anything behind you in an old sleeping bag isn't keeping you warm, because the down couldn't loft up. It would. So back in the olden days, the only thing keeping you warm was your sleeping pad. So by ditching that back, you save some weight, move over to a quilt. That was the whole way back in the early 2000s when the quilt thing started.
And the other thing too is, like, as you those ratings is, as you go up in temperature rating, your gains go up a lot. Like on a 40-degree quilt, the weight savings between 800, 850, and 1,000 isn't that much. We're talking a couple grams. Yeah. And then, but when you get up to a lower temperature rating, you can save a little weight there.
Good point. Is my my quilt setup. So I've got the 1,000 from John. I've got a 20-degree set. I've got a 20-degree 1,000 set from John. I've got a 20-degree and a 0 set from Richard and Warren, and then I've got a 20-degree set from Don and Dave. What can I say? I'm a quilt whore, and everybody loves me for their showing off their products. Yeah, that too. So they all keep me warm to their temperatures with these guys, if not below their temperatures. But where John's quilts at the 1,000 come in at 16 ounces, Don and Dave's quilts come in at about 23, 24, and Richard and Warren's on the 20-degree quilt, which is directly behind me, comes in at I want to say 21.5 to 22. So they're all pretty comparable. It's just, as they said, that higher fill power really drops the weight.
No, shell fabric has something to do with that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also, I will say, with a nod to John, because his quilts are the newest, they're running Dutch Ware's 0.49, which is
Yeah.
so.
I mean, a lot of
glorious.
stuff. I mean, everything involved in the quilt would have to do with that. The baffle material,
Yeah.
everything will have to do with the weight. But fill power is definitely a major factor.
So let's see. Let's see. Does lighter mean weaker?
Weaker how?
Somebody
durability?
posted it last week. They said that the lighter quilts and the lighter fabrics mean a weaker product.
So we put this to the test a couple weeks ago. So I had this prototype quilt when we first started with the up synthetic insulation, we made them out of different materials and stuff like that. So this one was it was the Argon 6-7, both sides, sewed in a 20-degree, our normal baffling, all that stuff. So we were just pulling fill out of it, to do some other projects and stuff. And I told Sandra, one of our seamstresses, I said, well, let's just see how tough this is. And I grabbed one side, she grabbed the other, like crossways on the baffles, and we jerked as hard as we could, and it didn't rip it. That stuff is amazingly strong for what it is.
I think
monitoring the chat over here, Namagear says Warren was referring to this, but is one fill power more durable? Is 850 the sweet spot between weight and durability? Where's the sweet spot at, guys?
That's a
I know
hard one.
John's going to say 1,000. I know Don and Dave are going to say 950. And where's it at, guys?
Well, there are a couple things. If you think at if you want to treat it down, from what we found, 800 and 850 is going to keep a water resistant treating much better than a 900 and up. So that's one thing. The other thing that there's nothing scientific to prove this, but we find that the lighter it goes with the lighter material, the down loses off quicker from body oils and dirt. You need to wash it a little bit more quicker. Nothing scientific behind that. That's just testing in the field that we've seen.
Oh, you're done. I thought you were
on my
continuing.
end, as far as durability, I think that it's closer to the 900 mark for a universal durability. The 1,000 fill power, that's really something that more experienced users are going to want to use that. It's going to have a lighter fabric. It's going to have a lighter fill in it. You're going to have to be more careful when you wash it, more careful about where you're hanging it, things of that nature. And that's just because of the materials being used. Overall, yeah, the 900, I don't want to say 850, I don't want to say 950, but I would say that the 900 is about the sweet spot in what I have found.
Okay.
My personal preference, I love the 850 down. I think it's great, lightweight. It lofts up good. I mean, you can get lighter, obviously, but I just like the 850 treated down. And it may just be because that's what I'm comfortable with. I've used it a lot, but I like the way it lofts back up. I like that it is lightweight, and I like that it has a little bit of body to it when you rest your arm on it or something like that.
Okay.
I think the other thing too, Donald, you're saying with the treated makes a big difference when you're out on trail and you've been out for a while. You need to wash your quilt. The drying times on a treated down, if you don't get it the higher fill powers, is so much faster. You can get it dried in pretty much a cycle versus the untreated down that you did on your old quilt down was that like 4 cycles. It was
4 cycles, and you had to go and pluck across the clumps out of it. The treated, that's what sold me on treated. I thought treated was a snake oil thing for years. I was testing it.
Sorry,
I was testing it way back, and Jack would ask me, "What do you think about it?" I'm like, "I don't know. How would I know if my quilt would have got wetter if it didn't have the treatment?" Went out a couple years ago. Took a brother-in-law, washed 3 quilts. One of them was a non-treated one. Took 4 cycles, tennis balls, picking the clumps apart every 20 minutes. The treated ones, they're done in one cycle. So that had me sold on it right there.
The treated downs come a long ways too. For the first couple years with us, we never found a treated down that we really liked. It seemed like we would have people order treated down, and we would order the down for them. It just wasn't our standard down, but there wasn't big puffs of down like you get with like you get with normal untreated down. And then we sampled the down we use now, and we love it. It's big, nice puffs. So I think the treated down has just come a long ways on the quality and stuff. I've got a little demonstration here if you want to see it on the treated down. Which we've done a wet out video online with treated down, the up insulation, and the untreated down. It's nothing scientific. It's just in a mason jar, and shake them for, what was it, 30 seconds?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and try to wet the down out. But I've just got some of the treated down here. It's just a clump of treated down, and then some water. I can get it in there, and so you submerge it, and it just comes back out dry.
Yep.
It's like the magic sand you played with as a kid. It's coated, and it doesn't pick up that water. It's really hard to wet this out. It's just the treated down has come a long ways.
And apparently cocoa powder.
Well,
I said, and apparently cocoa powder. My kids have been showing me these videos of cocoa powder that you stick it in water and pull it out and it's dry. They're like, this is amazing. And I was like, we got stuff in the shop that does that. It's not that spectacular.
I'm glad I'm sitting at your desk.
Richard, I just wanted to say you have a fan of the show tonight. The Outdoor Addiction. I feel like Corkin even brushed his beard for this appearance.
I try to look for it.
He brushes it every day. There's this place like right across from our shop called Brush City Soap. He goes over there and buys beard oil and all kinds of stuff, and so he keeps it looking pretty good, pretty crisp.
That's right.
Warren, I'm glad I'm sitting at your desk tonight. I just got down everywhere.
That's awesome.
You're welcome.
Haters gonna hate.
Let's see. I did not have to use the facilities. My beer was empty, so I needed to refill my beer. By the way, tonight, gentlemen, I'm drinking Blue Point Brewing Company's Optical Illusion. I figured.
Warren, what are you drinking tonight?
Some Trogs Joyous and some Clear Jar.
Iced tea,
because he's on the.
Let me grab mine real quick.
And I got a bottle of water.
There's some Angel's Envy. Is there some Basil's Hayden in there? Oh, yes. Some Dlaysky and some Yards.
I hate y'all.
Don't forget the scotch.
Don't forget the scotch. Let's see. This one's probably going to lean a little bit more towards, let's go right along with our fill power and down and just hit the newbie question from the beginning. Down or synthetic?
Depends on the trip and environment you're going to be in.
Why?
And how much money you got.
That was going to be my thing. How much money you want to spend?
Okay. Will a 20-degree synthetic quilt keep you warmer, colder, as warm, as cold as a 20-degree down quilt?
If it's made right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The only difference I would say is that if you are in a wet temperature or wet environment, you've got a lot of mist coming through, things like that, then your down quilt is going to tend to show that cold a little easier than a synthetic, depending on the materials used in it.
Right.
If it's got a good DWR down, you won't notice a temperature difference.
Yeah.
But
the DWR and the outer shell make a big difference too.
So let me just play devil's advocate right there.
Yep.
We've been talking about down and fill power, keeping you warm.
Mm-hmm.
Richard just so eloquently showed that you can stick down in a tub of water and it comes out dry because of the DWR coating. Why does humidity and air moisture in a wet environment, I'm just going to say northwest in the Pacific Northwest rainforest, why does that have anything to do with down versus synthetic?
With a treated down, it wouldn't. I mean, we did a lot of testing way back when we first started using it. White Mountains, where you got doing mist all the time. I was a tester because I wasn't kind to my gear, beat it up quite a bit. Kayaking trips, you name it. Never had a problem with the treated down. And one thing that made me switch from down even before I started working with the jacks was I realized after all my years of camping, my synthetic quilt or sleeping bag at the time never got wet. And even if it did, even though synthetic will keep you warm, if it's wet, you're still going to be miserable. So that's kind of like what made me switch over down in the first place. And now with the treated downs, I have no worries of taking it out. Kayak trips, the wettest rain. The jacks hate hiking with me because every time we go out, it'll rain for 5 days straight on the trail when we're out. So we've got a lot of wet weather testing. The very first time I took my wife out, we had she was an old Hennessy with a little postage stamp for a tarp. And the tarp kept her dry from on top, but everything was splashing up underneath, and the bottom of her quilt got completely wet, but the down never had a problem. And that was pre-treated down. Just from that outer shell had enough DWR to keep everything off. So I've been sold on that. And I think maybe 30 years ago, the don't take down the damp conditions was true. And I bought into that at the time, but I think now treated down, you don't have to worry about that. Higher power fills where it doesn't adhere as much, I'd have consideration. I'd be concerned then.
I agree. With the other thing about the quilts is the material that we're using is very water resistant. You've got holes where your stitches are, but the material itself is very water resistant. And so even when we weren't using treated down, and me and Warren have hiked through hurricanes, like ridiculous amounts of rain. I've never had an issue with my down getting wet. Even we were in Big South Fork on an overnighter, and it rained the entire time. It rained all night. This was his son's first real hike, and it was miserable. But through the night, a river formed under my hammock, and I knocked my quilt out of my hammock into this water. Just pulled it up, pretty fast, and wiped it off. My down never got wet. It's harder to get the wet out a quilt than people think. That's a fear, but if you've been out in that kind of weather, you realize it's not as easy as people make it sound.
Yeah, I think in a normal situation, if you've got it hung and you're completely fine. Somebody commented out on the Pacific Northwest, and think if you're in a rainforest situation for 2 or 3 weeks, right, where you're at 100% humidity, like what Richard did is like the equivalent of taking your carpet and using a spray bottle, right? It's gone. Your carpet is 120% humidity, right? For 3 weeks, it's going to get damp. So it's over time.
Okay.
On a week, I would never even think about it. If I'm going to be out, PCT or do a camp for a month, I might start thinking about it.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things. I'm sure we'll talk about over stuff at some point. One of the reasons we automatically do a 25 to 30% over stuff and everything, it's so going back to our conversation of there's an amount of down to fill up the volume. When you go over top of that, it won't make it warmer, but it'll help it from shifting around, but it'll also help it as if it does get damp, if it gets dirty when you've been out there for a while, so the down can't loft up as much, it can maintain that original rating longer. So if you're running 25% more than you need, well, it can get pretty wet and pretty filthy before you start actually feeling the impact of it.
Okay. Is there, and this is a personal question because you went into overstuff, and we'll need to go back to the synthetic. Is there a break point? Does the law of diminishing returns come into it?
Yes, and that's where we came up with the 25 to 30%, and that depends on our baffle design. Most of our quilts are 25. We have a couple that have a special internal design that go better with a 30% overstuff. But from what we've tested and the jacks tested before us, somewhere you get up around 40%, the down just can't loft as much. And we've had customers that back when we used to offer overstuff on top of what we already put in there, we could only put in 1 ounce overstuff in a 40-degree quilt because then you'd break that 40% overstuff, and they wouldn't loft anymore. You can't get over that.
Well, you have to have so much airspace in that chamber for the down to do its job. And when you're packing down in there on an overstuff, eventually you hit a point where you're not getting the airspace.
Yep.
And once you hit that point, it's not going to warm up. Yeah, it'll stay puffy, but it's not going to stay warm.
Yeah.
The other thing on that, I don't know how much everybody's overstuff is, but by the time you add a couple ounces of overstuff, you could just go to the next temperature rating.
Yep.
Same
Yep.
amount of money.
So yeah, that was
Just go to the
that
next
was-
temperature rating.
That was one of the questions someplace. If I add 4 ounces of overstuffing to my 40-degree quilt, will it take me to a 20?
No, it'll
No.
probably
No, make it a 50.
Yeah.
Or make it a 60?
Honestly, yeah, in all
That's
honesty, it'll hurt you more than it'll help you at a certain level.
Yep, absolutely.
If you're willing to spend the money for 4 ounces of overstuff,
Yeah.
it should be no question that you can spend the money to go to the next temperature rating.
And you'll be happier.
Absolutely.
Let's see, Jenny, I'll get back to your question a little bit later on when we start talking about thermal regulating.
Can I just say one more thing about what we were just talking about? Because I've just got this thing here, and it just hit me that it'll make sense.
About the synthetic or
About the
overstuff?
other stuff.
Okay.
So a baffled quilt is, let me see if I can get this, is the cutaway of some
Hang on,
baffles.
let me make you big again. There you go.
Look at that beard.
Look at that beard. He's gonna stick it in his baffle.
So you've got your baffles here, and so that's how a quilt's made. A baffled quilt, it never touches the other side of the material until it gets to the edge. And so you've got these baffles in here that keep the quilt a certain amount of apart, which allows you to maintain, to get your loft. Let's just say it's 2 inches of loft you're looking for. Well, if you add overstuff to it, this, where the baffle is going to stay 2 inches. You might round this up and make it higher, but your temperature rating is not going to change from your baffle height, because that's going to be as high as that can go. Not only will the overstuff counteract if you get too much and won't let it hold air, but also you're not going to change the height of these baffles by adding overstuff. And so that's going to be where your temperature rating is.
That's what the limit is.
Awesome, thank you. Let's see, Andy Parrish Outdoors. How well does self-treating your down work? Granger's, Nick Wax, all the other snake oil you can get on Amazon and CedarRidgeOutdoors.com.
What do you mean by self-treating your down?
Are you going to pull the down out of your quilt?
Or I'm gonna
just
assume,
washing
since
like
they hit Granger's and Nick Wax, DWR wash or spray.
Are they talking
Almost not
about
gonna
washing
treat down.
an untreated quilt in a Granger's or Nick Wax product to hopefully treat it? It's
Yeah.
just not going to work the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
You may get something. I doubt it, but it's
I don't
not.
think it'll get through the shell. I mean, that stuff works really good. I've retreated jackets and tarps, no problem at all. But I think you're going to waste your money. It's going to get into the shell and not really translate into the down.
Okay.
Right. And somebody just commented that there's Washington DWR as well. I think you can, if you took it and got it in, you'd have to saturate the down so much to get the DWR in. This is all hypothetical. I haven't done it. I'm just thinking. Like, you'd have to saturate the down so much to get the DWR to adhere to all of the down that it would clump, and then you'd have to hand pick everything apart.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the down treatment that they use on down is different than the DWR that you would put on a rain jacket or even the shell of the quilt. Because one of the things when we tell people to wash quilts, go in, only use a front load washer, but clean out where you put your laundry detergent, because laundry detergent does the exact opposite of what you want in down.
Yeah,
it actually draws the water in, it leaves a coating. It's going to prevent it from lofting up. And I'd be worried about that with a lot of DWRs, if they could even get through the shell. I think a lot of that's going to be blocked at the shell level.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation with you, Don, last fall when I realized it was time that I needed to wash my quilt set, my summer quilt set, after over a year of 900 fill. It was starting to lose its loft and its fluffiness.
It's a good point for everybody that's listening. If you have a quilt that was warm at one time and now it's not warm, wash it.
Yeah, we get calls like that all the time. I'll have someone will call. I have a quilt from 10 years ago and it's not keeping warm anymore. Like, well, when did you wash it? And like, what do you mean you can wash it? Like, yeah.
And the other
wash
thing
it correctly.
It's like
Just
wash
hey,
it.
wash it in a no agitator washer with DWR. I mean, with down soap. Like, I just didn't want people to just go throw their quilts in their washer real quick.
I think the rule of thumb is if you're at the point where you need to wash your quilt, call who you bought from and say, I need to wash my quilt. What's the right way to do it?
I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did that last fall. I called Warren and I called Don with my summer quilt set, which is upper crow, lower JRB, and said, okay, what do you suggest? How should I wash this?
Yeah. And I wish I would have taken a picture. We had a customer send back one that they threw in an agitator washer, and it just looked like a honey badger got at it. I mean, it was just shredded apart. Because the quilt gets really heavy. So when it's being whipped around, if it gets caught on that agitator, all that weight is going on those seams that are not meant to carry that amount of weight.
All right.
I've seen one of the things on here. If you, I'm not really sure. Oh, she's saying you can use a fabric refresher. About if you're not ready to wash, I just hang mine up outside and let them get some of that good Tennessee air through them and call it good, man.
Fresh air does a lot. Throw them in a dryer, just on air fluff, and a dryer can make a big difference too.
Yeah. Why baffled quilts instead of sewn through?
Cold
Depends on your
spots.
temperature rating.
Loft. It's just loft. Like you can't. So you want that 2-inch or 2.5-inch or 3-inch to get that space. It's all about trapping air. So if you sew it together, you make a pinch point. There's no air trap there. That's
Okay.
the only.
So ideally, for warmth, the perfect quilt would be one without baffles, just one big air fluffiness of down that doesn't move anywhere.
If you can,
If you can get it not to move anywhere.
If you can keep it not to move anywhere. So the baffles are there to keep the down from, what's the term, guys?
Migrating.
Okay. So before we get into positives and negatives,
2 pieces of material and just sew the edges together and glue in some down, it's essentially a balloon.
uh-huh.
The baffles are there not only to give you a
Structure.
that loft thickness, it also gives the quilt a structure. Yeah, it's the structure of the quilt.
You take a quilt that doesn't have baffles and hang it on a hammock, everything goes to the bottom.
Right.
Okay. So baffles, horizontal, longitudinal,
Diagonal
shapes, diagonal, zigzaggy,
diamonds,
squiggles.
swirlies,
Somebody's doing swirly yet? Is anybody doing
Yeah,
swirlies?
Paisley.
curves.
No.
You want a design that's going to keep your down in place.
Okay.
That works. All the different ones can work, and everybody's got their designs. But that's what your end goal is to maintain loft and keep the down in place. Now you may want a system that you can migrate down in and stuff like that. But the main thing is when you hang that quilt or lay that quilt on top of you, you want the down to stay where it's supposed to keep you warm, and you want the loft to stay where it's supposed to keep you warm. And that's the end. That's all there is to it.
And just can I see a show of hands who here has a different baffle style than everybody else?
Well, I think ours is different than JRB's. I haven't really looked at John's. I haven't seen him. I guess is that a John quilt behind you, Pickle?
So I've got a John quilt, I've got a Crow quilt, and I've got a JRB quilt.
Yeah, so our underquilt's baffle system is definitely different.
I mean,
so
When we run our underquilts, the baffles are vertical. They run with your body. And then on top quilts, we run it horizontal.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess ours is different.
Yeah.
I guess everybody's got their own baffle system. It's just, all of them work, I'm sure, or we wouldn't be doing them. It's just what we come up with.
All right, take care, Shannon. Let's see. Namagear wants to hear from everybody individually. Can each vendor answer for a 20-degree quilt? Are your baffles actually 2.5, or are they less? And average loft is 2.5.
That's a good one.
That's a good question. Somebody's out here is doing their homework, either that or trying to catch
So I
somebody
think-
slipping.
I think our average loft is 2.5. The finished baffle, once it's sewn in, is a little less than 2.5. And
Okay.
then in the middle of the down chamber, it can loft up to 3 inches or so in the middle.
Right.
So you kind of get that average all the way across the quilt.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
same for us too. We come in our baffles are usually about 1/2 inch lower than what the finished loft is. So the 2.5 loft, we're going to have a 2-inch baffle there.
Okay.
And,
John?
and we're doing the same thing.
There you
One
go.
thing,
There's a
standard.
consecutive answer.
One thing me and Warren were talking about it the other day is it is something you need to look at, not just from cottage vendors, but from anybody, is you'll see some quilts that, are say a 20-degree quilt and they have really big bumpy looking baffles and they look really full because of this big arch that looks like they're stuffed. But when you measure that baffle width and it's not at 2, ours starts at 2.5 inches. By the time you sew it, we're at about 2.5 we're about 2 to 2 and 3 or 2.25 by the end. And so you a lot of these people that look like they have really full quilts don't necessarily have that really full quilt because their baffles are a lot smaller.
Okay.
Yeah, and there have been companies that use that in marketing. They'll go and they'll post this quilt
Absolutely.
that's massive, giantly puffy, or even at events. I remember seeing it at events, and you go and you squeeze the thing, and there's just no give to it at all. But it looks really good on Instagram. Well, this is pre-Instagram, but it takes great photo versus, like we were saying before, a regular 900 quilt. If it's stuffed correctly, if it hasn't had time to loft, it's going to look understuffed.
So here's
Here's
also, we've got the 1,000, 850, and 900. Also keep in mind the 900 Jacks Are Better Shenandoah is a 40-degree quilt, so its baffles aren't as thick. Actually, it's a sewn through, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, so through.
So this one's a sew through, whereas the other two are baffled quilts. So please don't judge the JRB because it
You don't really need a baffled quilt.
F4, yeah.
40.
Yeah, it keeps me plenty warm. So
Well, on top of that, once you hit a certain temperature rating, having baffles in it becomes a real nightmare trying to put them in there because the mesh is so small.
mhm.
Yeah, sort of. So trying to sew in a 1/4 inch baffle would be
Yeah.
a challenge. It's just like I'm not doing it.
We're going to send that to Corky.
All right, let's see. We've done the down versus synthetic. Hey, talk to me about the up.
So the up works a lot like down. It lofts. People are used to the, when they think about synthetic, they're used to a rollout sheet type of insulation, and the up insulation is a blown-in insulation just like down. It works a lot like down. It uses loft. And to look at the quilt itself, you would think it's a down quilt. It is heavier, and it doesn't pack down as small because it's not down. But it's a baffled, blown-in insulation quilt, just like a down quilt. Most of your synthetic quilts are actually, like you were talking about a minute ago, it's 2 pieces of material with the rollout insulation in, and it doesn't require any baffles or anything like that. But
that's the Climate Shield. That's what coming out of Arrowhead Outfitters. I think.
Yeah. So we stopped making synthetics for a while.
Climate Shield synthetics.
Yeah, we stopped making them completely because we weren't happy with it. We just didn't think it performed. And even though it was cheaper, it still wasn't worth the money. And then we started messing with the up insulation, and that's what made us come back out with a synthetic. And we've wanted to for a long time because the price point is great. And not everybody can afford, this stuff's expensive, So,
And it took us a long time to get the up quilts right to where they, to where they function just like its down counterpart. You do anytime you go from down to synthetic, you're going to trade off with that weight. But I mean, we worked a lot. I went up to Pennsylvania a couple of times to Dutchware shop, and we worked with them of adjusting fill amounts. We really worked. I mean, there was a lot of time that was put into them.
It took a lot of figuring out. And the thing is once we made, I mean, I don't know how many we made and tried to get it right and adjusted baffle sizes and different stuff. Once we got it right, it's a really, really good product. And it's, of course, since it's synthetic, it's heavier and it doesn't pack down as much, but it's also, quite a bit less expensive.
We have people all the time email us that, like, you messed up my order. Well, how did we mess it up? You sent me a down quilt. I ordered a synthetic, and I was like, I guarantee you it's a synthetic. We're
not going to make a mistake.
We don't make that mistake.
No doubt. But that's one of the things with it too, is I don't think many companies really want to mess with it. And the reason is because it takes a lot more time to baffle a quilt and join a quilt that's baffled. It's not, with a rollout type of insulation, you cut your material, you roll the insulation out, you cut your other piece of material, you sew it inside out. When you get it together, you flip it around and close it up, and it's done. Where these quilts are just like the down quilts, where it's a baffled quilt, and it takes time to baffle and join a quilt. But for us, it was worth it. Like, we feel like this is a really comparable product, and we really like it.
Okay. So, how are quilts constructed? Because we've got some new people here that I know of. We've got some old seasoned vets, and I'll be honest, I've been camping for 4 years and watched my first quilt get built this past summer. So, how are they built? I mean, how do you get all those little seams on the inside with the baffles in there?
He's got the example right there, which is awesome. You can see.
So you start off with a piece of material that's cut and marked.
That's Don. Hold on. Hey. Sorry, Don. Wrong button.
I'd rather look at that. But so
I'd rather look at your beard.
You start off.
You're so pretty.
Material, and you cut it and mark it, and so that's another thing, real quick, because I get this a lot, and since I'm just talking about it, measurements are done with a flat piece of material on a table, because we talk about loft. A 40-degree quilt has this much loft, and a 0-degree quilt has this much loft. So you lose a little bit more depending on the temperature rating of the quilt. But you've got a flat piece of material laid on the table. You cut it, mark it how your baffles are, and then you take whichever side you want. We start with the inner, and you sew this little piece of baffling all the way on your lines.
Hold it up higher.
You get ready with your other piece. Let me see if I can stand up and get this better.
Ooh, there's a belly.
This piece is laying here, and you take the top piece and you join it to this piece of baffling. It's a process, and you can see how that works. And then you take the next one and do it, and you close it like a book all the way. And there you can see the two pieces a little bit better how they're done. I don't know if that's any help at all.
So you have one side that has the baffle sewn just flat down to it, and then you take the other side and start at one side, and you kind of close them together like a book.
Gotcha. Okay. So I need to make a comment here. Y'all are gonna love this. Glenn Shearer says, "Let's talk suspension." Glenn, we're gonna get to that. Gopher, tell your daddy to sit down and wait his turn. All right. Let's see. Mike McClure, Arrowhead has a really interesting underquilt concept. Why are the only ones with that concept? The only thing I can think of coming out of Arrowhead are their synthetics using the Climate Shield.
What's can Mike like tell us what the concept is, or what
Yeah, so elaborate on
Harvard?
that, Mike. While we continue on, we will come back to you. Let's see. Where was I at? We did the baffling sewn through.
Dave, I think Gopher's about to come get you.
What's up?
Do what?
I think Gopher's about to come get you.
What? Me?
Asking about a
Gopher's
quilt.
about to come get me. Uh-oh. Here we go.
Well,
Gopher, we literally just put blue ones on the shelf today.
3 weeks out now, Gopher.
Reach out now, Gopher. They just put them on the shelf today. They should be on the website by now, if not in the morning.
They're
We're
on the website right now.
Gopher, you're on. You got grounded, Gopher. You got to wait.
Oh, here you go. Here's one for the Jacks and I guess everybody. Do bridge hammocks need different quilts than gathered end hammocks?
Or not in. I don't think for anybody here. I mean, somebody like some people make more tapered underquilts. I think Warbonnet does. Those would likely fit on a bridge hammock, but for anybody in this group and the majority of them, no.
Okay.
Yeah, our regular underquilt, they fit just fine on a bridge hammock.
Okay.
Well, one thing about underquilts, it just came up on one of the forums the other day. Someone looking for an extra wide one for a wide hammock, and one thing that we found over the years is if you go over 48 inches wide on an underquilt, it can be a bear to hang. And we find that 42-inch width is about the sweet spot. But if you get above 48, it starts falling away from the hammock. The point where you'd have to hang it up on the suspension is going to be up too high. Cause a lot more troubles.
You also get a huge air gap in between where you are and where the bottom or where the inside of the quilt sits, which is more room to heat up. It's going to actually make it more inefficient.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Sewn or drawstring foot boxes?
Ooh.
So what I usually tell people is, if you're buying a 30, 40 degree, if you want a sewn foot box, get a sewn foot box. If you want a snap and drawstring, get a snap and drawstring. If it's your choice. So I do tell people that, buy zeros and 10s and 20s from us. If you're going to be using that quilt in 20-degree weather, 0-degree weather, just get a sewn foot box. Get it. I don't know. My feet get cold. I'm done, man. I got to keep my feet warm. So I really like if I'm out in cold weather, I like having a sewn foot box.
Okay.
So me and Warren are just a little bit different on this. We've talked about it before. Warren says 20 and below. If you're using it in that weather, because we get lots. There's lots of people who buy a 0-degree quilt and they're going at 40 degrees outside. But if you're using it in the cold weather, Warren says 20 and under sewn foot box. I say under 20 sewn foot box. And the reason I say that is because I think the 20-degree quilt is about the most versatile temperature rating you can get, and it's by far our most sold temp rating. And so, to me, the snap and drawstring makes it even more versatile because a lot of people don't want to buy a summer set, a winter set, and a mid-range set. They want to get one set that'll cover them as much as they can. So a 20-degree is right there where that would be, and having the snap and drawstring in 40-degree weather. You can open it up and just kind of drape it over you and kind of vent it yourself, kick a leg out. And then in 20-degree weather, you can close it up and cinch everything up and stay warm. Through all the years of doing this, we've only had a couple people say, I could feel airflow coming through that foot box. And one of them, the guy was on the John Muir Trail. It was windy. And
it was that night.
He was using his quilt down to its limit. He said, I love the quilts. He wasn't unhappy with the quilt draw. He said there was one night I was above tree line and I could feel some air coming in. He said I just took a sock and cinched it up in the hole, and it stopped every bit of the draft. He said I stayed warm the rest of the time. So that's what I tell people now when they ask about it. I say if you do get in a spot where it's windy and you're maxing out your quilt's temperature rating, you can throw a sock in there and it's going to stop any airflow. The sewn foot box gives you extra insulation down there too, so I get that. But I just think that the 20 degree with a snap and drawstring is a really, really versatile quilt that can cover you for a lot of different weathers.
Okay.
I want to further what he said just a hair. It also depends on the vendor and how they're doing it. If they've got a lot of
the customer, there's lots of cold sleepers,
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
On the draw cord at the foot box, if they've got a bunch of grosgrain on that, it's not going to cinch up as tightly as if they're doing a channel for the draw cord in the quilt fabric.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a difference too.
Yeah.
So it's 8:00. We're at the top of the hour. I want to get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. Folks, I do this every week because Jeff asks me to like it, to thumbs up it, to click the subscribe button, ring the bell, all that good jazz. On this one, please get me the likes. And not just for my ego, because any of you that truly know me know you're not going to inflate or damage my ego because it's pretty off the chart to begin with. But we've got some new hammock campers in here. We've got some seasoned hammock campers in here. We've got some ground dwellers in here. There's some people that think they know the answers, but we are finding out tonight they don't know the answers. I want this podcast to serve as a go-to for when that question comes around and you're tired of answering it for the 5th time because of the information you learned here tonight. So if you could just click the like button. If you're liking what we're saying here, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Yeah, Jeff's got the point. Don't like me. Nobody likes me. I'm okay with that. My wife likes me and my daughter tolerates me. It's these other guys that are doing the job and putting out the quilts. So give them the likes. And extra likes if you're a big fan of Richard's beard. So
it's epic.
There we go. It's epic. It's getting there. So since Jenny, I hope that answered your question about thermal regulating and being hot but staying cold. You can always kick your leg out. That drawstring has the potentiality of letting in a little bit of air in the bottom of the quilt. And also, well, we just lost John. He'll be back in a second. And let's hit Glenn up because next on the list was actually suspensions. So primary suspensions, secondary suspensions, whatever the heck that little left to right suspension is, and other models.
Can I give a little bit of history on this?
Yes, please do so.
So we got the advantage of, I can pick up the phone and call the guy who designed the first underquilt. And so I know a lot of what the thought process was. They originally went with the current suspension we use, the end suspension, because it was easy. It works real well on a long quilt. Nobody ever even heard of a secondary suspension for years. Then another vendor came out with a through channel suspension on a full length quilt. So just like we use a channel suspension on our partial quilt so you can slide it along the quilt where you need it, another vendor came out with it on a full length quilt. Problem on a full length quilt, when you put that channel suspension in, it wants to go and draw towards the middle. When the quilt draws towards the middle, it hangs away from you. So to resolve that, you got the buzzword of secondary suspension. People started attaching another suspension onto it, either an end suspension in combination with that through channel, or they start throwing up over ridgeline, all these different things because it didn't work quite right. Now it's gotten to the point when we use our full length, we don't need a secondary. And I'll get people who'll go and put a secondary on there and call me and say their quilt's not working. Well, the reason it's not working is that suspension we use, it's dynamic. So when you get in the quilt, it's going to move around with you and keep snugged up. If you suddenly go and keep that from moving around, well, now you're going to get some draping where it falls away from you. So sometimes you need a secondary. Anything that has a through channel, you're probably going to benefit from it quite a bit. I think it's definitely necessary only if you're going to have a partial length where you want that adjustability. But if you have a full length quilt with just an end suspension, a secondary is actually going to cause you a lot more heartache. Same with if you start clipping it directly to your hammock. If it's not the exact perfect spot, again, you're going to get an air gap. So that's why we stay away from that secondary when it's not needed.
All right, little story from myself. When Don and Dave sent me, Dave's laughing here because he heard it firsthand. He caught the customer service call. They sent me this quilt back here, my Shenandoah. They sent it to us for a review. They sent me the underquilt suspension with it because I had planned on using it as an underquilt to go with my Cedar Ridge 50-degree top quilt. I got the suspension. It's 2 lengths of shot cord and 4 micro beaners in a little plastic bag that looked like it came off of AliExpress. Now, the micro beaners, I'm sure Dave clipped the micro beaners on each one of the shot cords and whatnot. But I called him up and I was like, I swear to God, what is this suspension? You sent me 2 lengths of shot cord and 4 micro beaners.
Well,
he's like, yeah.
What did you start with? What was where did you start with?
My quilt started with a Arrowhead Outfitters Jarbridge.
Okay.
Which just had the end secondary suspension.
Right.
And then I decided to go the highly affordable all the rage route and did the Clue system for the Gemini underquilts with a Costco down throw and those 500 feet of shot cord.
Yeah.
And it worked great, but I'm carrying around 500 feet of shot cord.
Yeah, that call you gave me, I'm like, go. Wait, finish the story. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I was like, what is this? And I was like, what is this shit? What are you doing? Seriously, what is this? And Dave's just like, just try it. Seriously, just try it. Lark's headed over. You know how to Lark set? Yeah. Lark's headed over. And just try it. Swear to God. I called him back and just started apologizing I said I'm sorry for like 15 minutes because it's brilliant.
Okay, I think my response was, yeah, it works. It just works. It's so stupid. It works. Yeah.
It just still boggles my mind how simply it just works.
I think one of the things like it is very simple. I think one of the things was the original Jax, I don't know if anybody here knows Smee. Smee was literally a rocket scientist. The length of that is perfect.
Yeah.
And there's math behind it. But it's just okay. It looks too simple.
Yeah, it is too simple to work as well as it does. And I applaud you on that because it's too simple to work as well as it does. So
most of the calls we get, people are overthinking it. They'll go and they'll take a potato chip clip and clip it on the side of the quilt, and then this isn't working. Oh yeah, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
So I got a customer service call from Pickle one time. It had to do with an underquilt as well.
Guilty as hell. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's self-imposed misery, guys.
He says, "Hey, these D-rings that you sewn on here got ripped out. Lay down in the hammock, rip the D-rings out." And I said, "You attached all 4 of them, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "So you put a 48-inch underquilt on a 58-inch hammock?"
No. It was on the chameleon wide, so it was on a 72-inch hammock.
Even better. I said, "So think about that for a minute. When you lay in it, something's got to give." I said, "You only need 2, one at the head and one at the feet. Send it back, we'll fix it."
Yep. I paid for shipping out, and I think I paid shipping back. But yeah, even it goes to show that even somebody that's should be experienced makes mistakes. Mistakes are made, and they're made by all of us. And even though both of these vendors knew what mistake I made as I was making it and was laughing at me in the process. They still repaired it. They still took that, oops, or yeah, that's your fault. I know exactly what you did, and made it right and made me a happier customer. So
I tell people that all the time now
We
too.
fix a lot of things that is user error or somebody's dog chewed their quilt up. We just, I mean, that's
Well, I learned from what you did. I have people ask me about the D-rings all the time. They say, "What are these D-rings for?" Or they're just verifying these do attach to the to my hammock, and I always tell them now, because if you just look at it, you're not necessarily thinking my hammock's this wide, my underquilt's this wide.
Yeah.
You're just going, there's 4 clips here.
Yep, that's exactly where I was at. It was 4 clips, 4 sides.
Every time now I tell them, you clip your head and your foot. That's your 2 clip points. Because it's just easy just to look at and go, oh yeah, everything just hooks right up to it. So, we learned something from you on that one.
Marcus Imes, general comment, I'd love for cottage vendors to include way more pictures of all their products. 3 pics is not enough, and there is no other info on the web. Give me too much info, not wondering.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. We need to be better at that, but we also, we get caught up in making product. Everybody in this group right here is behind. And so we're trying to get stuff out and taking time. Me and Warren have talked about this 100 times, and we're going to make it happen. We've got a plan right now, but taking time and getting these pictures on the internet is, it's important, but it's something that it's easy to overlook when we're trying to get product out the door to our customers. I can't agree with them there. We better on that.
A lot of our customers are used to, they go on whatever REI or whatever. Well, REI
Amazon, yeah.
They have
they
people
got photographers, they got media people.
Yeah. Is he asking for more detailed pictures, like of where the corners are, how the corners are joined, what the
I think just all the above.
Okay.
Just more pictures of it, more media pictures, increase that media budget. Either that, or I know a guy that does halfway sloppy, decent, positive reviews that likes free gear in exchange for written reviews and massive photos.
His name's Gopher.
No, Mike's too busy.
Gopher. I'll send something to Gopher.
Send something to Gopher. You hear that, Gopher? They're going to send you something to take some pictures of.
Gopher stole my Crocs.
Oh, did he?
While I was trying to get out of my hammock one morning.
You deserved it.
And had to walk around barefoot, and all I could hear was his laugh running through the woods with my Crocs.
Yep. Dutch did that at HangCon to me till I saw him leave, so I followed him back to his rig and peed on his.
Nice. Gotta mark your territory.
That's right.
So on our website, I don't even know if a lot of people use it. There's a spot up top that says photos. I believe it says photos, but it links directly to our Instagram account. And so it'll open it up on a new window, and you can see pictures that we post on our Instagram that may not necessarily be on the website, which, like Richard said.
Sorry, I thought I had it. Sorry. Here's the Cedar Ridge website. We've got photos. Boom. Load more photos.
The link may not be working.
Uh-oh.
I know who to call for tech support. But it is a 2021, all rights reserved.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to get my guy on that tomorrow. But like Richard said, it's supposed to link directly to our Instagram account. But it is an area where we can do massive improvement, and we know that. We, like Richard said, it's we're a 4-person team on a good day.
I mean, that's one thing. Like that may be a rumor that comes around, Pickle, that you want to that you talk about. It's like cottage, most of the cottage vendors, at least that we call actually talk about cottage vendors. We're 5-6 people at the most, and we're everything. We're shipping, receiving, production, the web team, the everything.
Yeah.
So we apologize. We will try and do better, but.
And there's also just from a technology standpoint, we don't have a website like REI. I mean, the more pictures, the slower the site may run. Then you got to pay more for hosting. So
you're not paying REI's marketing budget. You're not paying REI's overpriced on anything. Come on, folks. Let's be honest. REI's got some great pictures, but you're paying every single penny for that product.
And they got photographers. We're out there with our iPhone.
Well, let's be honest. REI makes the people who make the products.
Then there's that. Yeah. Then there's that. So,
anyway.
For example, I was looking at a cottage hammock and they only had like 2 pics. I want to see up close pics of everything: top, bottom, sides, ends, zipper, grow grain, you name it.
And that is totally legit.
And I can understand that from a consumer standpoint, because I can't go out to my local REI and look at your quilts.
Yeah, and it's an expensive purchase.
And it's an expensive purchase. And I'm fortunate enough that I know you guys well enough that if I've got a customer or something and they're wanting to look at it, I can just about give you a call and you'll have it shipped out to me in the mail the next day or two if you've got it for that looky-see on site. So
the same thing for anybody that's here on this chat, right?
Yeah.
Call us and we'll text you pictures. Like,
oh yeah.
Here's the other thing, Marcus. If you go to any one of their websites, and let me throw them up there for everybody. If you go to jacksarbetter.com, cedarridgegear.com, trailheadshammocks.com, there is a contact phone number. If you call that number and that line rings, you're going to speak to one of these 5 guys on this chat.
Right.
They are going to be the ones answering the phone. You're not going to get Sheila out in India or Sheila out in Australia who is just taking notes to then shoot them an email that they may at some point decide to get there.
Yeah.
You're actually talking to the owners, talking to the guys that are on the factory, are doing the sewing.
The other thing to point out on that is, like they touched on, you have 2, 4, 6 people doing the work of what everybody at REI is doing. They're making the gear, they're building the website, maintaining the website, they're doing customer support. And, we're all happy to send the pictures out.
Right.
But if we're sitting there taking all these different pictures of every single build we do, we're never going to get things done.
Right. I think that's the trade-off. Like we don't have the flashy stuff, but you can talk to us. So I think that's the takeaway.
I do think it's something we can improve on. And
agreed.
Another thing, early on when we, years ago, I think it might have been Marty that told us, to get out with our gear, get to these hangs, get out on the trail, and let people put their hands on it, because they can't go to REI and look at your stuff. They can't go to Walmart and look at your stuff. They need to put you're expecting them to send you a bunch of money to build them something. They want to feel, touch, see your product. And I think that's important for us to do. And I think we all do it as much as we can. It's hard to get away from the shop because it slows stuff down, but we love getting out too. But just so people can see your product, touch your product, see what you make. I think that's an important thing for somebody who's making the leap to go to a cottage vendor. Once they make that leap and they start having stuff that's custom made for them, buying products, they're not having to pick between this color or this color and this temperature rate and this temperature rate. And they can call the company, they can call the owners of the company and say, this is exactly what I'm looking for, and they can get that made. Once they make that jump, then they're good.
Yep.
But it's making that jump that's tough.
When somebody asks me they need a new quilt, my first question is, how soon do you need it? Second question is, how custom do you want it?
Yep.
And the third question is, how light does it have to be? And that really varies on who I'm going to suggest.
Yeah.
Because I know with Don and Dave, if it's on the website, it's shipping the next day.
And I send customers them, like we've talked.
Or a day or
We get it all
two.
the time.
No, for sure.
You know, we've had a customer that says, you know, I'm getting ready to start the AT in 3 days.
Right.
That's where I send them.
Yeah.
We're not going to get them their quilt in 3 days. Not going to happen. you know,
if
If somebody calls us and is like, I want a Starry Night pattern and fuchsia, I want to go to Cedar Ridge.
Yeah, if you want all the patterns and all the colors and all the customization, go to Cedar Ridge. If you want the lightest quilts on the planet, go see John. And by lightest, my 20 degree ethereal from John is 16 ounces. My 40 degree JRB Shenandoah is just a hair under 14 or a hair under
Is it
15.
a long or a regular?
It's the long.
It's a long. It's 14.2.
So, we're talking 1.8 ounces difference between a 40 degree and a 20 degree, which means very light.
Yeah.
Dosey, are any of these vendors being repped by Cajun currently? I know John's being repped by Cajun. Yes. Barry Garibaldi. I don't believe Cedar Ridge or JRB is, but I know that both Cedar Ridge and JRB have had your coffee in the morning.
And I think he just joined the chat. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
he finally remembered to join us, but I'm not sure if he'll remember who he's repping.
Hey, I've been looking at the comments, and Mike McClure, he was talking about the arrowhead thing.
I was trying to get back to it.
Simply Light Designs. Is that his? What is that?
So that's Jared.
Trail winder. Yeah, Jared.
Yeah, I pulled it up, and just a quick looky-see in between comments. It appears to be a Clima Shield based Wookiee.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the same concept.
Oh yeah.
So he does state that it is 10.0256075 asymmetrical apex Clima Shield synthetic to make it an effective underquilt, and it kind of looks like a Wookiee design, or he brings it to a point and then one suspension straight up.
And what temperature rating is that? Yeah.
Length, insulation layer 2.5. It's just giving me that.
He can do them all the way up to -5 is what he's showing on his website.
Yeah, well, you've got up to a 10-ounce Clima Shield insulation. So
as far as Jared goes, I've never had one of his underquilts in my hands or anything, but I've never heard a bad thing about Jared or Simply Light Designs, anything they make. And the thing I hear about him is he's like some wizard when it comes to getting stuff out the door.
Yeah, I can echo every bit of that. I don't own any of Jarrett's products. I've never heard anything negative from or about Jarrett, and everything he produces is, oh my God, it got here 2 weeks before I expected it to. So, and most of that's been pre-COVID. I'm not going to say that he's going with those speeds now, but everybody's backed up. John, how far backed up are you?
Deep.
Okay, John's deep, and it's just John and his wife Karen running the entire show.
Right.
Did it drop me again?
No, you're still here.
Okay. Yeah, we've got a lot of wind, and it's messing with the cell tower out back. That's why it keeps kicking me out.
Gotcha.
It depends on the order. I mean, we're running at least a 16-week on anything outside of accessories, but we've had a lot of full rig orders that have come in that have really bogged us down. We're just about out of that now to where we're getting into the single item checks, and once we hit that, we're really going to be picking up speed. But it's just that everybody got that extra money and decided to upgrade their gear. And just like Warren and Richard and Dave and Don, we got smacked too, but we don't have any help.
Yeah.
Warren, Richard, how far back are you guys?
Our website says 10 to 12 weeks, and we're holding pretty strong to that. We do have some orders that are taking a little bit longer. I said we've been sewing quilts. I went through the shop counting the other day, and where did I count orders that were processing that currently? Like 45 some orders that we're processing at one point or another in the process. And I mean, we've been sewing as fast as we can sew. Our offsite seamstress has been sewing as fast as she can sew. And I mean, I think we've been shipping out about 30, 35 quilts a week, custom make quilts a week. So,
Dave, I see you're in the conference room. What's the board say?
We've got 80 right now. We're at 80 quilts that are ready to go. I think we're caught up today, and all the custom orders. We don't really advertise custom orders, but we'll do back orders. We like the band, the mailboxes. We all met down at Trail Days a few years ago. We did a fuchsia quilt for them. Anything like that's taken about a week to turn around right now.
Show off.
Another thing too, I don't know if a lot of people know, but Dutch carries a lot of our up quilts in stock. I know they don't have any right now because Dutch was here earlier giving me a hard time. But we did just send him a bunch of under quilts that'll probably be hitting their website soon, and we got some more top quilts and under quilts heading to them. So
hey, I gotta go back.
Huh?
I love the mailboxes, and I love the purple.
Yeah,
that's the right ones, right?
Yeah,
the lavender ones we did.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I just loved them from Trail Days a couple years ago. They were amazing. Anyways,
when we met him at Flip Flop, it was sort of like, you guys are amazing. Okay. Like, let's play.
All right, Jenny's a little brain fried right now.
So, Jenny, what are your questions? I mean, now's a great time. So, I mean, do you have any specific questions that we can answer, and we can bring them down? I know we get talking technical sometimes because that's what we do. But is there anything you're confused about, or any questions you want, specifically?
So to give you a little bit of background on Jenny's my best friend from like last 25, 30 years.
So she's got bad judgment.
She's got terrible judgment, and she's only been in a hammock for about 15 minutes.
Oh,
now it had a JRB underquilt, it had a crow top quilt, and it was a Trailheads hammock because that's just what I pulled out and took outside at the time. But yeah, she's been in your gear, but she doesn't realize that it's your gear when she was in it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So she's still very, very new.
Yeah. I specifically answer, but like getting over the learning curve is doing something with like the Tar Heel guys.
Yeah.
Do that. Talk to people. You're gonna learn slowly. If you do it in a group, you will not die, and that's good. So yeah. But specifics, go ahead.
Yeah, and get out to a hang.
Yep.
People love talking about, everybody there's got the best setup, but you'll figure out what you like, what you don't like, and you're gonna have great food. You're gonna have a great time. It's great people, and you're gonna learn a lot about it. That's a great way to do it. Is just get out to a hang, and you'll learn a ton.
I know it's one of the things like sometimes I'm a little jealous of is like I think the first time I camped in a hammock, I was hiking the Midstate Trail in Pennsylvania, and I literally took a piece of like sil poly something or other I had stashed in a netted hammock that it was from Walmart and camped in that, and I liked it. So I started looking into it even more. So like the resources now are so great, you can just talk to anybody.
So my first time in a hammock, I had a that was not comfortable, and I did not fit in the thing. I'm pretty tall. So I was like hanging my legs out. I had a sleeping pad in it, and I run a piece of paracord across the top because in Tennessee in the summertime, bugs everywhere. So I carried a sheet in my backpack and had the paracord up there that I pinned the sheet over to keep the damn mosquitoes off of me.
Yep. And hey, that's how Steve got started.
So speaking of bugs, permethrin on underquilts.
No. Don't do it.
Answer that. Everybody just sit now. Okay, so do not attempt to treat your quilts with permethrin. Do underquilts change the lay of a hammock?
I don't think so.
If you put an ASIM on a symmetrical, yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you mess up, then yeah, but I mean,
it shouldn't.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys, this happens to me, so especially in the wintertime, I'll get in, it's cold outside, we're talking 20 25 degrees, when you want to stand at the fire and you're at the fire and you're nice and you're good and you take 5 feet step away and you're like, holy cow, it's cold out here. And you get in your quilts, you're in your sleep attire, whatever that may be, and you're in your quilts, and I always do an immediate, okay, where's the air gap? Because I know there's always one. Where's it at? What's not quite right? And I'm super toasty and I'm super warm. And then 5 or 10 minutes later, I'll get a air gap that moves around as I'm trying to figure out where the air gap is. But I realize it's all in my mind. Is that just me? Or
so it means you're not drinking enough before you go to bed.
Right. Yeah, because I don't even care. But so with me, Warren, there's a couple things about Warren. He's the backpack whisperer. If your backpack's hanging off your back or something, he'll start pulling on straps and stuff, and it's perfect when he gets done. And he's also the quilt whisperer. So I use a 3/4 length quilt. It's an up synthetic. What is it? 40. It's a 40 degree, isn't it, Warren?
Your underquilt?
Yeah, I've used it for years.
It's a 30.
Okay, 30. And that's one of the ones we tested.
One of the first ones we made.
Finally got it right on it. So a 30 degree, 3/4 length, and I use it almost all the time. And so once I'd laid my hammock and Warren set this thing up around me, I don't mess with it anymore. Done. And so now there's no more gaps. But now Gopher, I'm pretty sure it was Gopher. I don't know who did it at Fall Sprawl, but I'm pretty sure it was Gopher undid my end suspension on it, and I froze to death that night because I had a wind tunnel coming under my hammock. But once I've got mine set, I stopped messing with my suspension. It's set for me, and so that's how I am on it. Now, in the mornings, is a different story. In the mornings, it's 20 degrees outside. I'm warm. I'm all snuggled up in my quilts, but I got to pee. Mm-hmm. That's the other side of it is I'll lay there until you're either going to get out of this hammock or you're going to piss in it. One of the two.
I don't have that problem. At this point, I don't have that problem.
To get out, but I've been close a few times.
I think one of the things too is like, especially in a gathered end, like in the bridge hammocks, they just fit, and you don't like. There's really that problem doesn't exist. Like when I'm sleeping in a gathered end, I get in there, and you're right. I start looking for it, and I'll shift my body around until I create one, and I'm like, oh yeah, there it is. So like you can like get yourself into trouble that way. But to Corky's thing, I think the first time you get in it, if you can have somebody else set you up, that's a really big deal. You get a baseline of about where it should be. You know where to go from there. And like sometimes it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, oh yeah, like maybe my kidney's a little cold, and then I'll start thinking about it because I just actually want to get up. But most of the time, I think it's like you said, a lot of it's in your head.
What about compressing quilts? Compressing down.
Like in a compression sack?
Yeah, like in a compression sack.
Okay.
I mean,
No.
It takes a lot better than synthetic.
I always I don't know. I don't ever
But
put my
you know, when
my
I go to
quilts
when I
anywhere.
go to REI, they may be hanging, but I promise you, North Face doesn't have their down sleeping bags, or Mountain Hardware or Enlightened Equipment doesn't have their, down bags hanging in the warehouse. They're in
Well,
sacks and compression sacks.
I
what
mean,
we tell customers
think
is when
Warren
they're
Ours
not
are hanging.
hiking.
I don't use a stuff sack or a compression sack when I'm backpacking. I use a contractor bag, put it in my backpack, and my dry stuff, my clothes and quilts, I put in there. I stuff them in there, and then close it up, and everything else just kind of pushes down on them, and they kind of go into the crevices and the voids and stuff like that. As far as storage goes, absolutely not on stuff sack or compression sack. No, you want the quilt to stay lofted, so you can use a storage bag, you can hang it. I mean, however you want to do it, you can use a tote, like a Rubbermaid type tote, and you want it to stay lofted. But when I'm backpacking, my quilt goes in the bottom of my bag into a compactor bag or a contractor bag and push down in there, then twist it up. It gives it a little bit, extra protection as far as dryness goes. And I know people are scared to do that, but and I was too. Warren was the one that did it. He was doing it for a while before I could ever do it because I was just so worried I was going to damage my quilt. But once I started doing it, that's the way I do it now.
Way quicker for setup and tear down too.
Absolutely.
Cram it in there.
And for balancing the load in the pack. I mean, that's the other thing that really does a great job for. If you put it in the stuff sack really tight in your pack while you're hiking, you got a cantaloupe in your pack. If you just drop it
and it can't move anywhere. When it can get into all those little crevices and stuff, I mean, it takes up so much less room. Less room.
It will be fine in the stuff sack. It won't hurt it if you like it. That's fine.
And that's one big thing. I'll tell customers when they ask. We'll get someone I had someone like a week ago, like, hey, my package was slow getting here because the post office. It sat in that box for a week. Is it ruined? Like, no, it's not ruined in the box. I tell people store it in either like a pillowcase or the container we ship it in. But in reality, my quilts at home, I've had them. I remember coming back from a motorcycle trip. I had it in a true waterproof compression sack, socked all the way down, threw it in my gear closet, forgot about it till the next season when I was going to need that quilt again. Pull it out, down was completely fine. I think down's a lot more durable than we give it credit for. I can tell you that years ago I had a synthetic sleeping bag that I did that with. It was an old Mountain Hardware, and it broke it. I mean, those fibers get crushed, and that thing would never loft up again. But I've had my orange 900 fill power. Forget about it. No problem. Doesn't care.
We have an synthetic quilt that somebody left in a stuff sack for over a year in our shop right now. That's ruined.
Yeah.
Is it?
It's ruined. He left it in there.
The fibers break.
We beat it and beat it and beat it.
Trying to
Have you now?
Well, not. We're talking about a quilt right now, Pickle. We'll discuss other stuff later.
So the guy's a friend of mine, and I made him a set of quilts, and we made him a hammock. We made him all this stuff, and he bought it, and he sends the top quilt back, and he says, this thing's not working. And I was like, what do you mean it's not working? He says, well, you made all that stuff for me. He says, it's just been in this bag. I was like, what bag? He said, the little bag that comes with it. I said, the stuff sack? And he said, yeah. And I said, how long has it been in there? Well, since you made it. Like, man, I made that for you like a year and a half ago.
You might be able to get away with that with down, but
not synthetic.
Okay.
There was actually an article years ago on white blades where someone it was a scientist or something that was also on white blades, and they actually had pictures of how, and at that time it was Climate Shield, how the fiber actually would break when you have it compressed versus how down will rebound back up.
I think with regards to the down, it also has to do with the quality of down. If you're buying from one of the cottage vendors that's sourcing a reliably solid material versus you're ordering down off of eBay and throwing it into a quilt, or you're depending on the stuff out of the Costco down throws. You're going to notice a huge difference in how well that down takes the compression for however long.
Yeah, that down like that you find in those Costco down throws and stuff like that, while it's great for some DIY projects, it's a pretty high feather finish down.
Very high feather.
Holes in there, and they
You know,
There's nothing
and
wrong with a $20 down quilt or down blanket, you know. But
our stuff is what they call a 90-10, which is about it's about the highest ratio you can get of just down. You're never going to get all the quills out of it, but that stuff is a pretty high feather percentage. And the stuff that Rose, whatever it is off of Amazon, it's a pretty high feather percentage down too.
Well, it is 8:40 p.m. I want to bring this portion of the show to a close. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been very attentive and on the rails. And for that, I appreciate it. Now I'm taking off the reins. I'm throwing it off the rails. I want to hear your quilt stories from customers.
oh gosh.
Oh gosh.
That's right. I want to hear them.
How many people are on this thing?
Right now, we're running at 25 from what I'm seeing.
Are we just going to tell pickle stories, or like we?
All right. If you just want to tell pickle stories, just tell pickle stories.
Wait, Pickle, do we want to tell, like, do we want to give people an idea of the questions not to ask us?
Yes.
The idea.
Yes.
I got the best one, man. This one gets me every time, and you will be surprised at how many times I get this email. And the question is, how much weight will 1 ounce of overstuff add to my quilt?
Yeah,
Absolutely. A couple times a year.
all the time. All the time.
1 ounce. That's the
1
answer.
ounce. Every
One
time.
The answer's 1 ounce. Yeah.
So I got one. God, I hope she's not watching. But
Don't name names. You know, don't throw anybody under the bus.
This
unless
is very
it's
specific.
me.
We had a lady order the zebra print quilt from us, and she's hiking like Colorado Trail or something like that, and was wondering if it would make her more susceptible to mountain lion attacks. So we're like, mountain lion's never seen a zebra. Like, mountain lion's not gonna know what that is. God, I hope she's not watching.
It's great though, man.
It's fantastic.
That stuff makes my day better.
Oh my gosh.
The worst one I've had so far on quilts was I had a guy that sent me a message, "Hey, I'm getting cold butt, and I don't understand why." I'm like, all right, well, send me pictures of it. And the sides of the underquilt, like where it should be right there at the zipper, without him in it, it was all the way up the ridge line. He had it that tight.
Wow.
And could not figure out why he was getting cold.
Hey, that is a good one. We get a lot of customers. The guy that was talking about the pictures, and we need to do better. We also need to do better about videos and stuff on how to use stuff, because not everybody's used quilts.
Yeah, 100%.
Not everybody's used, especially underquilts. And so hanging an underquilt, there's a little bit of an art to it, a little bit of a trial and error until you get it right. And a lot of people really want to cinch that sucker up, and you compress all that down. It should just be kind of kissing your butt in the bottom of the hammock when you're laying in it.
The other thing is they push it up on the ends, and then they get the air gap in their butt, and they're like, "Why is this happening?"
Yeah,
they pull it
and
tight
so,
as they can.
The majority of our top quilts that we sell are to ground dwellers. And so there's been plenty of times people have sent us pictures of them laying in the quilt upside down, trying to, laying on the quilt and trying to wrap it around them, thinking it's going to work like a sleeping bag. Trying to stuff their sleeping pad inside the quilt, inside the foot box, and wondering why it's not coming up. And so that's another thing we need to get better on as cottage vendors, is, kind of teaching people how this stuff works. But yeah.
Somebody wants the worst customer story.
I've got a good one.
I've got a pretty good one.
You want just a dumbest question?
So I think, well, there's two actually that I would put in there as the worst customers. Well, one was actually a customer. The other one wasn't a customer. He was a potential customer. But the guy that was actually a customer, most of our customers are great people, great to deal with, great to talk to. But this guy, he called me. It was right around 8 o'clock in the morning, and he sounded like he was drunk. And he couldn't figure out how to order the quilt on the website. And I was like, no problem, man. I'll put the order in for you. I'll put the order in for you. You can give me your credit card information over the phone. I'll take care of it for you. So we get the order put in, send the guy his quilt. Like, I went through sizing with him, all this stuff. And he calls me and he says this quilt's not the right size. And I was like, what do you mean? He says, well, it only measures this much. And it was a sewn footbox quilt. And I said, okay. I said, well, so if you look at how we measure the quilts, it's from top to bottom pulled tight. I said, your footbox is sewn up, so it can't lay completely flat like a snap and drawstring footbox. It's sewn up. And he didn't understand it. Well, the guy kept getting mad, and I was really trying to explain it to him, and he kept getting mad. And this guy went off the rails, wished sickness on my family, wanted our shop to flood, told me that we had the worst customer service department. And I was like, what's me? I mean, I'm the guy.
It's me.
he went pretty hard about just giving me, telling me pretty much that he wished our company would fail and that all my family got sick. And I was like, all right, man, you're banned.
You're banned. Yep.
If I see your order come in, I'm gonna cancel it, refund your money, man. I don't need these problems in my life.
The best part about it is Warren said, look, we'll refund you your money. We'll give you your money back. And dude goes, I love the quilt. I'm just pissed off because you lied about it. He didn't want his money back. He didn't want to return the quilt. He loved the quilt. He was just pissed off because it didn't measure up to what he thought was the measurements.
Hey, Richard, look at Don's look at his title there.
Oh, Myra.
Oh, Myra. I'd do it and I'd put something on him, but I don't. Oh, so the best customer one, there's a lot. Now, there was one that a guy accused Warren of living a lavish lifestyle and told us that we were paying our employees exorbitant wages and stuff because of pricing. And he was saying that he could buy the materials for this much and wonder, didn't understand profit and stuff. And that one ended up Warren was at home. Our shop was in Warren's backyard at the time. Warren was at home with a sick kid, and I was in the shop with our seamstress, and I'm reading all this coming through on the email, and Warren was the one dealing with it, and I took Patty and I was like, read this, and this guy is accusing Warren of price gouging, you must live a lavish lifestyle. And all this stuff, and it was just going on and on. And Warren finally told him, "I'm not going to sell you a quilt." And he's like, "So you won't sell my friends or me a quilt?" Warren's like, "I'll sell your friends a quilt. You're not allowed to buy a quilt from us." And the guy just wanted to keep on and keep on and keep on. And so I'm showing Patty this as it goes, and I'm like, Warren's head is getting ready to explode inside this house. I'm watching it all go down, and I'm knowing what Warren looks like in his house. But that was the worst one for me, and it's hard to describe everything this guy was saying, but it was incredible. The stuff this guy, I'm surprised Warren didn't drive to where he was to confront this guy because he was accusing us of.
So my thing with people that want to act like that is, I don't have time for that in my life, man. I just don't have time for that negativity. I don't have to. I just rather pass on the sale. Just, man, we'll just part ways. Let's just cut it off. We're done, man. I don't
always
have time
tell them
for it.
Jack's or Better makes great stuff.
Yeah, have you ever pawned a customer off to JRB or JRB to Crow
Absolutely.
and had it come back and bite you?
Yes.
I don't know if it's
Not
come back to
bite
bite us, but we
It's my go-to.
we said weird ones to each other all the time.
It's part of the fun.
Have you
What's
ever
the
dropped them off
table?
on Dutch?
No,
No,
because
I like Alex. Alex,
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Dutch. They would go to Alex.
They would go to Alex.
I like Alex and Crystal a lot. I don't want them to have to deal with that stuff.
wait, that's actually a good idea. We should send them all the negative people. That send them to Crystal. She'll make them happy. It'll be great.
Even when they call us complaining about our stuff, just give them Crystal's number and say, this is our customer service.
Here's our customer service line.
I like it.
I'm so sorry. Contact Crystal Dutch Fair, and she will make your life better. And she will.
She will. Yep, she will. Yep. Uh-oh. Warren, you got to go back to work?
No.
So since we talked about bad customers, like, is there any customers that stands out in our minds that have changed our company or that are great? I mean, obviously Pickle, but I was just, as I was telling that story, I was thinking about a family of ours. Me and Warren talk about this all the time. We got lots of great customers. I don't want to leave anybody out, but this one changed our company a lot. We were, we started off as just a hammock company. We're making a netless hammock, and Warren had made a quilt and sold it, and people started seeing this quilt and liked it, and so people started ordering quilts from us, and it was taking us forever to make a quilt. And we sold way, way, way more quilts than we thought we were going to. And so we were behind, and me and Warren talked that day, maybe the day before, about we're going to have to stop making quilts. We're behind. We can't keep up with it.
Close ordering down, because I didn't want people having to wait. Now it's just one thing, like you can't avoid it.
Yeah.
Especially with making custom stuff.
I was on shift on the ambulance, and Warren called me. He said, you're not going to believe what happened. And he had this lady call him. Her husband, and her daughter were getting ready to start the AT, and they're hammock campers. And so she was talking to him. She said, hey, I got on this Facebook page, asked about quilts, and everybody recommended you. I got on your site. It says you're not taking orders on quilts now. And so I got back on there and told them they're not taking orders. And everybody on there told me, call Warren and tell him you want him to make your quilts and you're not taking no for an answer. And so he starts talking to her, and
I might be guilty of throwing you under the bus like that a time or two in the past. I'm not saying this one, but yeah.
So he starts talking to her, and he's like, okay, look, I'll make your quilt. I don't, it's going to take a while, but I'll make your quilt. She's like, okay, I want 6. I need top quilts and under quilts for her husband, and her daughter. And so he calls me, and he's like, I don't know if this is a sign. I don't know, but I want to help this family. And so at that point, we started trying to streamline our process and we started talking that this is where our customers are leading us. We want to be a hammock company. We don't make a chameleon. We can't compete with a chameleon. It's too good. That's what we hang in. We can make an affordable netless hammock, American made and all that, but we can't make what we hang in and make it affordable. And so, our customers kind of drove us towards the quilts, and a lot of it was because of her and her family. And we still talk to them. I still talk to them all the time, and I love them. And they had no idea about hammock camping. They're getting ready to start the AT. They had never hung their stuff. She said they had Z-Packs tarps, and she sent me a picture of a bunch of cords and attachments and stuff one time in a big pile, and she was like, this is what I got from Z-Packs. What do I do? And so they live in Alabama, and we were having a hang in Tennessee. And I said, y'all stuff's done. Come to this hang in Tennessee. There's going to be people there. And we got all our stuff hung and all that. And they've made this great relationship with them. But they changed the route of our company. They you know, we were getting ready to go somewhere we shouldn't hang. They pulled us back. It's been great friends ever since.
So what's y'all's customer stories?
I think that may be a good way to end it, unless you guys aren't tired. We're coming into the last 6 minutes of the official show. But, you know, if you guys want to keep on keeping on and turn it into a after hours and keep it broadcasting, I'm okay with that. You want to end the show?
I'll answer questions as long as you want to.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Let's keep on keeping on.
I need to go
Questions?
get something now.
Questions from the audience in the peanut gallery. Yeah, let's take a quick break.
Yeah.
Refill the consumables and such. And normally, this is in the show. This is still a good time. Look, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We are not ending the show. We're going into I guess, hanging with pickle after hours. Where things get, where the prizes get halved, the points double, and it still doesn't matter if anybody wins. For those of you that caught that reference. But, you know, take care of each other. Look out for each other. If one of your random friends crosses your mind here, there, and elsewhere, reach out to them and give them a chance to reach out to them, touch base. There's a reason they crossed your mind. And while it may not mean much to you, it may be something huge to them. So, on behalf of Gear Report and the teams at Jack's Our Better, Cedar Ridge, and Trailheads, I'm Pickle. Thanks for tuning in. All right, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. I need a refill, and then I think we're going to come back. So keep the questions coming in, and we'll get started on the after hours questions and stories here in a couple minutes.
Pickle,
Hang
grab
tight,
that
guys.
wilderness trail. Let's see if we can get you pole dancing tonight.
All right. That one?
Sea Salmon's 09. Best way to stay bug free in summer. Probably either a Frankie net or a bug sock or bug net sock. And otherwise go with an integrated net. Dosey, secondary suspension on an underquilt easier to vent. I'm not real sure because I hit a certain point in the summer where if it gets over about 60 to 65 degrees, I don't even bother with a underquilt. So, I mean, and our quilts are built a little bit different, I think. We have just one suspension rather than having a secondary and a primary. It's one that runs out, and you can either do it as just off the corners or off of the channel. But having that horizontal channel to be able to loosen it, that allows you to vent pretty good.
G, you asked if I had an Instagram page like my Facebook page. Yep, the Instagram page is Mr. Pickle No E 78 on Instagram. Is 7D too thin for shell material in your opinion? I know it's delicate, but does 7 denier have any particular concerns with down penetration or other issues? Too breathable at negative 35 CF CFM for some denied versions?
I've used a lot of the 7D, and in my opinion, it's better for an inner than an outer.
Okay.
The ripstop 7D, I want to say it's the 0.56. That's got a ripstop grid in it. The Argon 49 does not. That gives you a little bit better protection against snags and stuff, but you're still dealing with a very thin material. Top quilts, you do all right on it. Under quilts, I would not recommend a 7 denier for the outer.
Yeah, I think I can echo that. I've got the 7D for the inner on my underquilt, on my ethereals, and while it is silky smooth and it is wonderful as an inner layer, yeah, even as a ultralight backpacker, I still would like to have that little bit of extra, peace of mind for something a little bit stronger.
I have my personal underquilt's got a 7D outer, and it just, to me, it's too thin for the outer. I'm going to be rebuilding it at some point in the near future, and that's going to get to 0.6 on it. Use that 7D.
Why are you saying it's too thin though? I mean, it's one of those things. Like I agree with you because we touch it all the time, and we're like, eh. Has anybody actually trashed one though? Like doing fine.
I had a 7D.
Okay.
That there was a spot on our cut table where there was a little burr, and it caught on that, and it ripped about a 2-inch hole in that 7D, and that was with a ripstop grid in it.
Right. Okay.
And all it did was catch just one spot where there was a burr.
Okay.
And it was thin enough that it just went. You throw a thorn bush into that.
Yeah.
You're done. Or a zipper.
Yeah. I think for Don and I, this was one of the nice things that came from, kind of taking on an existing company. The Jacks were very good at basically giving us crap to be like, well, why would your underquote ever touch anything like that? Like clearing sites, picking sites, doing all that stuff is so important for everybody. And so I've never run into it, but I touch that fabric and I get that same feeling where I'm like, I don't know if I trust it. And I think that's the thing too for people is getting gear that they trust, especially when they're starting out.
Confidence is huge.
Rather than the best of the best, right? Like if you're learning to race a car, you don't start out with a GT3. I think that's you can build up.
That's actually an area where I've had a lot of discussions that have potentially made customers feel alienated because I weigh 198 and I want to run the race, and I've never backpacked with a hammock before.
Right.
The monolite is not a good fabric for you to start in, and a 7 denier 1,000 fill quilt is not a good beginner for you. Get some experience, come back in a couple of years, and I'll be happy to help you.
Mm-hmm.
But I see this as, you're going to have a lot of problems, and you're going to run into damage that may and may not be something that's worthwhile to fix. You may have to end up replacing it.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where the stuff that you're making is Bugatti-ish to some degree, right? It's you don't it's a different game, and to get to that point.
Yeah, the Banshee to me is a solid Aston Martin. That Poltergeist, now that I've been in the cloud and I've been able to get comfy with that cloud fabric, it definitely is supercar level. I can't wait to see what my Poltergeist is like.
3 ounces of glitter added to it.
Can we go with 2 ounces of glitter?
Sure, but I'm going to put some glue in there too.
Oh man!
And I think the other thing too is a couple ounces if you're going out for 2 days isn't going to make it break you.
No.
Yeah.
Not in most cases. You get people that they go out and they try to do 50 miles in a weekend,
Mhm.
those ounces are going to add up.
Sure.
But the
That's
general weekend warriors, no, they don't need to worry about having an 8-ounce hammock and a 14 to 16-ounce quilt. They don't need it.
Yeah, Don and I were talking about this earlier today. You know, I don't know if you can tell by looking at me. I'm not. I mean, most people are like, that guy's in shape. He probably walks 25 miles a day, but I don't. So, you know, with me, I'm doing my
If that's the closest bourbon and you don't have a car, you're going to walk 25 miles.
right. But you know, my 5 to 10 mile days. I like some comfort. I like my Z seat. I like my 900 milliliter pot, and so I get the ultralight deal. I get it. I'm not cutting handles off my toothbrushes, but I get it. And I've thought about it. I mean, I've thought about, okay, I wonder how light I could get. And if I do, Pickle's going to be in trouble. Pickle and Derek and Chris, they're all going to be in trouble if I decide to go lightweight, ultralight. But I'm not trying to get 25-mile days. If I was, then ultralight would mean a lot to me. Mm-hmm. But right now, comfort at camp. I mean, I don't know how much a fifth of whiskey adds to my pack.
but it's a lot less going home.
It doesn't count towards my base weight.
That's it.
So I guess I could still be ultralight, but
it's consumable.
Chris and I have had this discussion, and after going a couple of times with me, I think he has started to understand. I've gone to the ultralight rig because then my food don't seem so heavy.
Right.
Yeah. Richard, you were there at Hang-On. You saw how I eat. That
and he backpacks with the same food that he car camps with.
Yeah, that's some good food too.
I've seen Don load 8 pounds of cheese in his back.
Yeah, so for those of the audience that weren't on that Hang Con trip, John showed up with a cooler full of elk, bison burgers, mixed meat burgers, bacon, more elk, wild boar
in there.
Yeah,
there was a hatchback full of good whiskey.
Yeah, and there was some good whiskey, and there was at least a half gallon of Trailhead's moonshine.
You know, Corky, I'm pretty sure if he went out with the two of us, Pickle would never go home. No. Between your booze and my food,
he might never be seen again.
Oh, there was somebody was talking about asking about with a dog. What is it?
There we go. Got it.
Yep.
Also, I have a dog that likes to be close. Only thing I found with a bottom that's relatively light is Dutch's bird nest. Have you guys seen anything to keep dog bug free?
Is the bird nest the one that Alex did for Lincoln that hangs?
No, the bird nest is the giant one for two quilts. But the pup tent was great for a dog. I'm gonna be picking one up.
I think that thing's so cool.
It's nice.
Yeah, and we've made dog quilts. We've made quite a few dog quilts, especially out of the up. It's pretty affordable. But that little tent thing that Alex came up with, or whatever, that thing's really cool.
Yep.
Something I've seen at several hangs is people grab the toddler play tents.
Yep.
And stuff that in their dog's pack and let the dog carry it.
Yep.
It doesn't weigh more than, maybe 10 ounces. And, quick set, dog's got its own space. Who cares if it gets trashed? It's $10.
Yep.
What else?
Let's see.
If you want something really light, just buy it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's like we're talking about if you need it or not. But if you want it, go for it.
Yep. So, I last weekend went down to Sipsey Wilderness in Alabama, just south of you guys, Warren and Richard. And it was supposed to be a all weekend event. It was supposed to rain. Knew it was supposed to rain. Set up my brand new 12 by 10 beautiful tarp. Knew I had not seam sealed my 12 by 10 beautiful tarp, but okay, no big deal. Had the chameleon hammock, and the rest of it was trailheads. Because I had my 20-degree ethereals. I'm still working on the review, so they're the primary. Prior to the ethereals, I was definitely a stuff your quilts in the bottom of your pack inside of a pack liner kind of guy to take up all the extra space. But for whatever reason, that unicorn fur is so fluffy and so springy, I can't get it to compress in the sleeping bag long enough to pile the rest of my gear on top of it to keep it from expanding into the top of the sleeping bag. So for the first time in 4 years, I've gone to a compression sack. Now, the beauty of that compression sack is the 13-liter compression sack will hold both the 20-degree top quilt and the bottom quilt. Compress it down, takes up the exact bottom of the pack. So yes, while it's a oblong cantaloupe, it's the same angle and shape of the bottom of my 40-liter pack. Anyway, rain comes down. The Beckett hitch that I've been running for 4 years does not stop the water onslaught.
Wow.
I think it was because I was stretched so far out that there wasn't enough tail off the Beckett hitch to actually create the gravity drip from the water. Okay. So it just topped it. Chameleon 1.6 Hexon is not DWR coated. All the water accumulated in the Chameleon at both the head and the foot end. What water didn't accumulate on the Chameleon at the head end and the foot end hopped right onto the underquilt channels and ran straight down to the underquilt. The next morning I looked and there was a puddle between my hammock and my underquilt.
You sure that was from the rain?
Huh?
You sure that was from the rain?
I'm sure that was from the rain. Nice try, John. The tarp did leak, but okay, no big deal. It wasn't seam sealed. Mm-hmm. The top quilt had some water on it. We elected to go to New Orleans and stop camping, but go to New Orleans. Okay, Jeff says I wet himself, but his story sounds better. Okay, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it. Appreciate the support. We went down to New Orleans and I compressed the unicorn for 1,000 fill power 20-degree quilt set into that 13-liter and left it there wet, compressed all weekend long.
Okay.
Pulled it out Monday afternoon. Mm-hmm. It was still wet. Yeah. The DWR down did get damp. There was some clumping. I let it air out for a little bit and realized that it was clumped and I was going to have to bust all the clumps up, and the heck with that. So I'm home. I'm safe. I took it up, threw it in the dryer for 10 minutes with 3 dryer balls, no heat, and poof, everything was back to beautifully nice. So while the 0.49 is the lightest quilt fabric that I know of, and the outers were a 0.56, and it had the 1,000 fill power down in it, it performed as I would expect any other quilt to perform in those situations. It didn't perform any better, and it was not damaged, so it didn't perform any worse. Mm-hmm. I gave it 3 stars on the torture test because it performed exactly how I expected it to.
Right.
Now, if the dang thing was dry when I pulled it out of the compression sack after 3 days and the down was fluffy, yeah, we'll give that 4.5, 5 stars. But
you get that to happen, I want to know how you did it.
Yeah, no kidding. So does everybody else. Oh.
People acting about pee bottles and hammock. No, get up. Get up.
No. Get up. Quit being lazy. Get up, get out, find a tree.
Unless you have a stadium pal And if you know what that is, that's fine. You get to run it.
If you want to carry a stadium, if you want to run carry a stadium pile out there, go for it.
I see all the time on the forums where guys are like, "Yeah, I just roll over and let it rip." What happens when you hit your boots?
Exactly. I promise you.
You know, I mean,
That's
everybody's
exactly.
got to pull their quilt out of their way, but you got a good chance of hitting your shoes.
Yep.
Agreed.
He wants to do it.
Boy, I posted a picture of the group of us in the pre-show, and I'm getting blown up. Hey, do you have ETAs? Is there anything about backlogs? I was like, come on the show. I got them here. You want to harass these guys about backlogs? Come on.
Right. Yes, the catheter would work.
Catheter would be acceptable if you want to knock that out. I personally am going to get out, walk to a tree, turn around, come back, and hop in.
I mean, there's always a tree right there.
Every time.
There's two actually.
Every single time.
Or it's a stand.
Or it's a stand. And if it's raining cats and dogs, okay, it's going to dilute by the morning anyway. So, you know what? Marcus, thanks for showing up. Take care. Let's see. We are starting to wind down. Let's see what else we got, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have been troopers into our over second hour. So I do want to, for those that are still watching, since it's late enough in the show, I can give this spoiler and not hit it. At some point, we're going to get the 6 of us together at a bar and record this thing live.
And get thrown
or not
out
live, but we're going to sit down at the bar with somebody's credit card on tab, and yeah.
Do we have to go to that bar in Asheville?
Dude, so far, all 4 of you have announced the exact same bar.
Me, Richard, and Dawn are members of this bar. Dave is not.
No, I'm a
freeloader. Make that clear. Dave is not a member of this bar. No, I'm freeloaded. I don't carry cash. It's 2021.
Well, you got to remember, tradition has that the newest company picks up the tab too.
So Warren, Don, Dave, and Randall, which the people who've been to these hangs know Randall, and I hit this bar, and man, we had a great time that night. And I know at some point Randall just stood up and said, "I'm going back to the motel," and left us there. I don't know how he got back. He was there when we got back, but man, what a night that was!
That was fun.
We did the actual through hike. We started at that bar and ended at that bar, and then walked back to the motel.
Uphill
for 16 miles,
both ways.
Both ways.
I'm with Dosey here. Using a pee bottle weighs perfectly good territory marking fluid.
I agree.
You know, if you're peeing on your head end and your foot end trees, the raccoons are less likely to come a looking.
And the nurse mentioned an external Foley. An external catheter. I say, if you're going to go catheter, you go Foley. You stick that sucker in there and you do it right.
Well, there you go.
From a medical professional right there.
Podcast done. Drop the mic.
Yep. Podcast done. Drop the mic. We're talking Foleys. All right. Yep. No, we can't. I've still got some sippy sip. Hey, Caleb.
What's in your little sipping glass there?
Mine?
Hey.
Well, I just finished off the bottle y'all sent us for Christmas.
Oh, get a close up of that. Come on now.
It was nice.
That's the Angels Envy. Oh, that's Woodford.
Okay. Cedar Ridge, Woodford Reserve.
Yep. Hey, Caleb.
Okay, go watch
John's face while I do this. So I finished the Cedar Ridge stuff.
He heard your voice.
The Talisker got finished.
So we gotta go buy new bottles. All right.
I know it's time to restock.
Man, I wish I'd have known you were bringing whiskey, man.
I'm just at the shop. You're bringing-
This is what's at the office.
We need to change our shop, Warren.
I know it. We're according to Don and Dave, we don't have near enough liquor in our shop.
That's going to change soon.
So the thing you have to do is get your mom to work with you, right? So that it balances the liquor. Everything people behave, and
Well,
it's
she
fine.
drinks half of it.
Wait a minute. My mom's a Tennessee Squire. That wouldn't work.
I know exactly.
This show's going downhill quick.
It is.
Oh, Jeff's already applauded me. Officially off the rails. Well done, Pickle.
Thank you.
So yeah.
So cool.
I don't think it's gone that far off the rails, considering how this normally goes.
No. This isn't. We aren't off the rails yet. We're teetering, but we've
Now,
not.
Pickle, you had a mug a while ago with beer in it. What's in your glass?
I've switched to the Wilderness Trail Bottled and Bond Kentucky Straight.
Nice, man. Where'd you get that?
John and I were looking for a bourbon up at the winter hang that didn't happen, and we actually found 2 bottles of this, and each bottle was off the same barrel.
Wow.
Oh, cool.
The same ABC store had 2 bottles, and they were your bottles. What number, Jeff or John?
189.
John's much better at drinking his bottle than you are at yours, Pickle.
I'm at a 195. So his bottle was drank that weekend because we took his bottle up to the site and basically annihilated it. And mine wasn't touched because it was down at the house and got put in the car and headed back. So
Awesome.
Here's a real question. Should this turn into a weekly whiskey podcast?
Hey, now.
I as a side
Pickle.
we'd have to do it on a night other than Wednesday.
Look, we could do it. We could do a Wednesday prayer meeting, and every Wednesday, come up and talk hammocks and we'll show off
hammocks and whiskey.
Yeah,
you call it hanging and hungover.
Well, we could do the
not a good
hanging
combo.
with Pickle on Thursdays and hungover with Pickle on Fridays.
I like it.
it's
I
kind
think
of
we
like
all need to gather around the fire pit and do this podcast you're talking about with the open bar and everything, because then we don't have to worry about getting kicked out.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
that'd be
that.
great for the video, though.
No, I want to get kicked out of that bar.
if we do this
It's a
whiskey
nice
thing,
bar to get kicked out of.
if we do this whiskey thing, can we do it every time Warren's on shift?
Yes.
So he can just sit there and watch us all drink whiskey
I
Cheers.
like it.
and worry about running a call.
Cheers to friends, a good time, and happy hanging. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, buddy.
Warren just nodding. Effigy.
Sorry.
You can't see where his hand is, though.
Yeah.
Hey, Warren, that ketamine's right in that drawer over there.
That's
Hey,
just
put
slapped
some
up on
ketamine
there.
on you, man.
Do some special.
Oh, AJ says we call it the pickled pickle.
I like it.
I like it.
Rum. Oh, okay, maybe.
Jenny, as long as I get to pick the rum.
Ooh. Ooh, Jenny. What about some bourbon?
I don't know.
What's the bourbon, Jenny?
Plantation 5-year rum is pretty decent.
I got 2.5 gallons sitting in the fridge down in the barn.
Yep.
Nice.
We can get you some of John's clear rum.
Moonshine?
Hang on.
That's what some people call moonshine.
Yeah. We're calling it clear rum for Jenny's sake.
Speaking of, how's Randall doing?
You know what?
Speaking of which, how's Randall doing?
So let me tell you something since you said that. So we were having a Christmas party years ago, and I've always been a tequila guy and not a whiskey guy. And, of course, Randall has been a whiskey guy since he was 4 years old. So there, and I'm drinking. I'm not getting drunk. I've got a Yingling because it was cheaper than Bud Light at this bar we were at. This bar we were at had natural light on tap.
Wow.
First time I've ever seen that. And he used to own this bar, as a matter of fact. But anyways, he said, he comes up, he says, "Corkin, what you drinking?" Drinking a Yingling. He says, "No, what you drinking?"
We got a Yingling.
I was like, "I like tequila. Come out here in the truck." I was like, "You got some tequila in the truck? Come on." It's all right. So I go out there, and he got a gallon of George Dickel.
Oh, Lord.
No, Evan Williams. Williams. And turns it up.
Oh, God.
Hands it to me. I said, "This isn't tequila?" He said, "Same thing, Corkin. Get you a drink." All right, man. I take a drink of the Evan. And so I never was a bourbon drinker, but every time I'd get together with Randall, he's a bourbon guy. And so I love I hate scotch.
I've got the worst scotch for you ever. I'm bringing it for you. You're going to hate it more than anything else you've ever had.
One of I've had two really good scotch tasting experiences in my life, and one of them was with the JRB guys. Yep. And the original JRB guys. We're at Trail Days.
I was there. That was a great
that's right.
Scotch tasting experience, and I don't like scotch.
And they had 200-year-old scotch and 100-year-old scotch. I don't know, but they're like telling me how to drink this and move it across my nose and front to back on your mouth, whatever, and like I don't like scotch, but I love that experience. That experience made that night great, and so it was the same way with Randall on a regular basis. Because Randall loves bourbon, and so anytime I'd get together with Randall, I would drink his bourbon, whatever he had, and so over time, I started appreciating bourbon, and now I love whiskey.
Tell him about Randall threatening the bouncer.
Still don't know why anybody would drink scotch if they have bourbon available.
Dusty knows what he's talking about.
But I love the experience. I love the people, me, Warren, Chris, Don, Dave, and the Jacks. Like that night, tasting that scotch was the best. One of the best scotch tasting experiences of my life, and I'll treasure it and I love it.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I thought I was going to puke over the campfire that we didn't have because every sip I tasted, it felt like tastes like a baby diaper. And I remember handing Warren my glass saying, "You're going to have to finish this, man. I'm going to go find my Jack Daniels."
Yeah, well,
I am not a scotch guy.
The thing is, with bourbon, it's filtered over angels. And with scotch, it's filtered over peasant scrotums. And so it's really the scrotum that you taste with scotch. That's what you get with the scotch. And if you appreciate that, if you like it,
are you a fan of scrotum?
Whatever it is.
I'm gonna jump. We want to jump the rails right now.
Oh yeah,
Corcoran,
throw it.
That attitude is why you all lost the war.
Oh my God!
Wait! Whoa! Hold on! Whoa! Hey, which war?
The one with attrition, buddy.
Listen, if this doesn't become a weekly thing, I'm going to be disappointed in you people.
Hey, Dave.
Oh, do you want me to say the War of Northern Aggression?
I was born in Ohio.
I think we all know which war he's talking about.
I was born in Ohio.
I'm in
South because I hate snow.
We know which war.
Yeah, we know which war, Dave.
I still I hate Missouri. I'll go on record and say it. I hate Missouri. I love Kansas. I have not made my mind up on Ohio yet.
I hate Ohio, other than John's property. The absolute best part of Ohio is about 100 acres outside of Dayton.
Are we pissing off the entire state of Ohio right now?
The rest of the state,
No, there's good country Ohio, and there's weird Ohio. And I love good country Ohio and weird Ohio.
Weird Ohio.
I my mind up about.
I want to go on the record. I love Ohio.
It can. I've had really great times. I just don't know. I'm not saying I don't like it. It's not Missouri. I hate Missouri. Fuck Missouri.
Oh my god.
Don's gone. Don's like, there's this.
Where we
Shut the
are,
door.
we're right on that line
Hey, Don,
between the
what are
good
your
Ohio and the weird Ohio.
Uh-huh.
And you mix in that we're about a 15-minute drive out of a city that they have the east side and west side drama going on constantly, but they're all just a bunch of jokers because they don't know what a real thug is.
Right. Yep.
But where we are, I mean, we have 100 acres that it's never been clear cut.
Wow.
We're the second family that has owned it. And we have 2 nature preserves, literally, like one of them borders the property, the other one you cross a road.
That's the Ohio I like.
So we have that great mix of we're 5 minutes from everything that you could possibly need.
Right.
And I
But
think we can
once
get
you
Don's
get out
truck
here-
stuck in the fire pit.
I'm in.
That's the second time you've said it, so challenge accepted.
So, but listen, on this fire pit, how many cords or ranks of wood do you go through in a weekend?
All right,
It
hold on.
depends on
I've
what
got
we're
the.
doing. Bring up the pictures, Chris. You got some good ones.
You want the video or the picture?
Whatever.
Okay, hang on.
We don't burn logs. It ain't firewood. It's trees.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm not kidding, Richard. Trees. I pasted off when we had the January get together, which was me and Chris and Joe Rickliffs and his dad and Karen and the kids. And it is right about 25 foot long and 15 foot wide.
Wow, that's crazy.
And probably pushing 3 foot deep in the middle if I clean all the coals and ash out of it.
Wow.
But we
All right,
started off with
here's for everybody. Share screen. That one, share. There's my Jeep for scale.
Okay. Don, I think you can tell. I think you can jump that.
I think we can jump that.
Turn the airbags off and go. You
I
don't
mean,
wanna-
I say you don't have a man bone in your body if you don't drive.
All right, speaking of jumping it, here you go.
Wait, are you guys gonna have like devil sticks and like some
Oh,
sword
geez.
fights and stuff?
Okay, so here's the thing about a hammock, about a hang, with Warren and I being an EMS, we don't want to work. Like, we're not trying to do this.
Oh yeah, no, somebody actually made that. Did they clear it?
Yeah, he was about a half a stride short because the log on the end, he wasn't quite sure if it
I commend the stones there. Those are nice. Wait, somebody's AJ was like, Ohio's got nothing on Florida. Wait, which way are you going with that? Are we playing who's crazy? Who's crazier?
Yeah, I think he's trying to play who's crazier.
Yeah, Florida wins. Every
Man,
time.
that pavilion is nice. Yeah, that's cool.
And
Don, do you guys all?
If there's a naked picture of you on here, Pickle. Like
I mean, that kind of gives you an idea of what the camping area looks like.
Nice.
Oh, you want to see naked pictures of me?
No,
No.
100% no. Hard no.
I mean, you can show the one of you with the quilt on. I'm not sure who's underneath it.
That's pretty good. I was like,
My reputation precedes me.
no one's ever heard of Ohio, man.
Tennessee's actually 3 states in one.
Oh, well, you might talk about Pennsylvania is like 4 or 5.
You got mountains, the mountains, Gatlinburg, East Tennessee,
And
then
they
country
speak a
music.
different language.
Yeah, they speak a different language than country
Ewans.
music in the middle. Yeah, they say words like Ewans.
But see, that's so weird because like that all clashes in like the Ewans is like Ohio, Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania into that.
Come on.
Look, I don't know where these people came from, but they're a different breed out there.
You can't say that it's not.
Look, North Carolina, you've got those kind of mountain people.
Are we going to piss off every state?
No.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
let's
don't
just
know.
go alphabetical if we're going to do it.
All right, so we start with Alabama.
Where my wife's from in North Carolina, from Snow Hill to Pink Hill, people
Oh, yeah.
have dialect.
Oh,
100%.
yeah. Complete.
And it's a
Yeah.
hard change.
Complete.
Nothing wrong with
And then you go a little bit west and north, and you're all of a sudden in Raleigh, which is a completely different world.
Well, that's Pennsylvania at this point.
So look here, I went up to the last time I went to Pennsylvania, I flew into Philly, and I was going to drive to the JRB shop.
Is there one state that's okay?
Every state is okay.
I love all
Every
the
state's
states.
okay.
Every state except fucking Missouri. Fuck Missouri. I hate this bastard.
Tell me, Dave. Tell me, Dave. Why do you hate Missouri?
No, it's only-
Where's this?
Let me
Where's this?
let me focus this. The Kansas City Missourians, having lived in Kansas, having that area, I don't like them. They're two-faced bastards. The rest of Missouri's fine. Those are my fish.
Where the hell did Corky go? Did he pop the seal?
He's from Missouri.
Maybe.
He's from Missouri. Trying to hide it.
Ohio, you've got the hillbillies and rednecks down south. Then you got the ones in the middle that don't want to admit that they're hillbillies and rednecks. And then you got the extreme north that is flat denial that they are hillbilly and redneck.
Mm-hmm.
They're all the same. It's just different levels of denial and acceptance.
Oh, then you got the Buckeye fans, which are just truck drivers and sanitation workers.
They're sanitation workers for good.
Oh,
Oh, did he just kick himself out the chat?
No.
he got canceled. We should call Dutch and see if.
I
Hey,
can't,
so
I
if
can't
there's,
get anybody else added to the chat.
Oh, we only got
if
6.
there's
Yeah, I
one
can only get
state-
6.
If there's one state that I and Cedar Ridge Outdoors loves, it's Missouri. If any of you people in Missouri need a place to buy quilt from,
Don't buy it from Jack
Or
Sharpetter.
Happy
Buy it
Talk.
from Cedar.
if I see,
some people hate
if
you.
I see an order from Missouri,
But there's us.
I will refund your money graciously, like the true Northern gentleman I am. And no,
Badmouth Buckeye Nation, you get dropped.
fine.
That's a threat. Never mind. Yawn.
Look at that pretty guy right there.
Oh, what's up?
What's up, Coltrane? You got any magic tricks for us?
They're all saying hi to you. You can say hi.
Hi.
Go to bed. Night night, buddy.
Zombie boy. Wait, so why did Jeff just write Oklahoma? Is it a question?
It's where the wind goes whipping across the plains.
I like
Somebody
Oklahoma.
put is one state. Is there one state that's okay? And Jeff said
Oklahoma's
Oklahoma.
a fine state.
I like Montana a lot.
Montana's good.
Great dental
Idaho?
floss farms up there.
We
know that.
I've got one state. It's my birth state, and it's not great to me. I'm not going to mention names because we've got a lot of close customers there that fly to come see us at Hanes and stuff. It's just not my thing.
In case somebody's wondering, it's Alabama.
No,
Alabama.
I grew up in Alabama. I grew up all over the world, kind of, but most of my time was in Alabama. Where I was born. Roll Tide.
Go find yours.
Mom, but it's gonna smell nice.
Go find your notebook. Meanwhile, you know,
We're judging your parenting. That's all.
Do what?
We're judging his parenting.
His parenting, John's parenting. So I've seen this kid run a chainsaw. So
We don't know where his notebook is, apparently.
but he's just trying to figure out whether or not he can use mine.
Caleb can drive that bobcat that they've got on property.
How old is Caleb? He was like 6, 7?
3.
That big bobcat.
If he understood that you have to push one button more than one time, he would be able to start it and take off. That's the only thing that stops him. He doesn't understand you have to hit it more than once.
Okay.
And it's been that way since he was about 18 months.
Wow.
That is the red button. Stop.
Yeah, the red button stops. Thank you.
Yeah, the red button. Stop.
And this is how my workday goes, boys.
Yep. So those of you that are still hanging out, if you ever wanted to know what slows down the process at Trailheads, his name's Caleb.
We've got pictures of Warren's daughter in a hammock that we made. She stayed home from school and was out there in the shop with us. And so we're like, what do we need to do? She had her little iPad with her. And so we made her a hammock in 10 minutes. We just sewed her up a hammock real quick and hung it in the shop. And it ended up, it's a great picture for me because it, brings back a great memory. But yeah, I think everybody in this group right here has been there, trying to get stuff done and trying to manage kids and trying to manage life, and a business. It's one of the greatest things, but ever. It brings some great memories with it.
We were fortunate enough that we started messing around with the idea of trailheads right when Karen got pregnant, and it really started taking off about 9 months in to him being here. And when your first kid's first words are hammock and tarp, and he can tell you the difference, you can't put anything on that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We've got puppies. The puppy tear around the day is pretty nice.
How is the puppy, Don?
He's around here somewhere. He's doing good.
I saw him earlier.
We got Cole to not be a terrorist, and now we got the puppy.
Yeah.
Come on, B.
Trail dog. They're asking for you on camera, buddy.
Come on, Boudreaux.
Boudreaux.
That is a great name.
Man, that's a stylish chair you got, Don.
You like that?
Dude.
It matches his
That
truck.
actually isn't too far off of the one I
Look
had.
at y'all. Warren, we're falling behind on the chair game.
I know.
There it is.
Go get a gamer chair.
Yep.
Yeah.
There he is. There's the monkey.
Oh.
There he is.
There he is.
Aw.
He's,
Hey, buddy.
that dog is a hand grenade. You just pull the pin and he blows. So much fun.
What'd you guys name him?
Trail.
Trail.
His full name is Brew Trail.
We get the 2 o'clock zoomies. It's pretty good.
Was that a black and tan, or is he a St. Bernard, or what?
He is an Entley Booker mountain dog. Like a Bernese, but only 50 pounds and short hair.
A lot easier to deal with.
Yep. Smaller poops.
Sometimes.
As opposed to my 110-pound German Shepherd. I want down, Dad. Let me run.
I don't even know. I'm surprised he's even up right now. That little dog does not have staying power.
Yeah, I might have to jump off of here. I got a bunch of paperwork I gotta get done. And
Yeah, I'm fading.
Oh,
Yep.
good shift.
Yep, I think I'm fading as well. So we did it 45 minutes. That'll work. Oh,
Sounds
are
good.
you ready for bed? Come on.
Corkin, I got Justin and Shay coming in this weekend down here. What do you want me to do to pay her back for those party fouls?
Justin and Shay are coming?
Yep.
Like day after tomorrow this weekend?
I believe they're coming in tomorrow. I haven't gotten a confirmation on which day, but they're supposed to be here for the weekend.
Dang, I wish I didn't have stuff going on. I'd come up there.
I was going to say, I could get you an address, Corky.
Yeah, that ain't
Yeah.
nothing, man. Send me a
I'm
message.
helping
I'll
with
get
the
it to
MR
you.
class this weekend. I'd definitely like to come up there. Yeah, I mean, anything you can make Shay drink is she deserves. She deserves. Ask Dutch. She deserves whatever's you've got. She's got it
I
covered.
mean, I got to say, at least I've got an outdoors facility, so I don't have to worry about the bathroom like they did at HangCon. But
do not let her be in charge of party fouls.
Back this up. What happened to hang out in the bathroom? Did we all break the bathroom?
Not us.
Let him in on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I must say though, the first night when I was doing it, Shay did not have a good night. She
Shay
didn't
have a good evening by what, 5 o'clock?
I don't know. But
On
the
Thursday?
next night,
But
she came back with a vengeance.
She came back with a vengeance and
And took it out on everybody.
look, there was not a night at HangCon that somebody didn't need carried to their rig.
This is true.
Yeah, there was Sunday night.
Well, Sunday night, yeah, because the only ones
we all
left
knew
were the
we were going on the
professionals.
boat Monday morning.
I'm glad
To the
something's
point-
in place, but
Dutch couldn't find his rig.
that's not
Dutch is
surprising.
teetering off to the left, and we're like, Dutch, hey, Dutch, turn right. Thumb goes up in the air, and he hangs right. Saturday night, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, the campulance, for whatever reason, the
License
siren goes off, lights go off.
Alice's favorite trick.
3 a.m., John and I are walking back the Sugarlands cooler after it's been cleaned out, emptied and cleaned.
And that running man. By the way, did any of y'all get in on the bottle and bond they got coming out?
No.
Yeah, me and Warren and Randall and Michael all have a bottle coming. We'll be driving to Gatlinburg to pick it up. Yeah.
you guys, I'm gonna check out. We'll see y'all later.
See you, man. Have a good
Is
night.
that up there?
See you.
There it is.
Wait, so Corky, what is this? Like a Tennessee new distillery that's doing some kind of
So, dude, like, there's this moonshine place, Sugarland Shines. They
Uh-huh.
show up. They were there. I think they were there when y'all went to HangCon a
Yeah.
couple years ago. I know they were there the next year. They brought like 50 gallons, 50
Yeah, it was-
cases of
Yeah.
shine. And normally, and most of it's really sweet stuff. But they decided to do a bourbon, and the rye that they had was one of the best rye whiskeys I've ever had. And it was a limited run. Me and Pickle, John, did you get a bottle of that?
No, Justin, and
Derek, yeah.
Derek.
Uh,
So it all ended up in our camp. Everything
As a
that
matter of
they
fact-
brought ended up with us.
they didn't have enough for Randall. They had one they were giving away in the raffle.
Oh, okay.
Randall talked him out of it. And then the guy from Sugarland Shine came and sat with us at camp, and so he autographed our bottles for us. And it was amazing. It's
Oh my
really
God.
it's not like some sort of messed up moonshine thing. It's really good. And so that got us on their buying that, got us on their little thing where we can pre-order.
Okay.
And so, like last week or the week before, they just came out with their bottled and bond bourbon. And so,
Can you What's the actual rye content on that?
It says it. What? Look at his bottle. It's amazing. It has so much information on this bottle. Pickle, you got your bottle there?
Yep.
Show them the back of the. It has the entire mash bill.
Okay.
And Bruce, show them the back of that bottle.
You're blown out. I can't see that shit. I'm too old for this stuff.
Damn it, Dave.
What's the rye content?
It's got the mash bill somewhere.
It's
I'm making
mash
field,
bills,
guys. I'll be
51
right back.
rye, 45 corn, 4 malted barley.
That's bourbon.
No, that's rye. It's 51 rye.
Straight rye whiskey.
It's
Barrel
too-
types: American white oak. 16 barrels in the batch, aged 3 years, 6 months. Barreled on 116 of 17, 24 months. The staves were 24 month air dried. Treatments number 3 and number 4. Filtration is non-chill filtered. Barrel size 55 gallons. Average entry proof 115.1. Average evaporation is 23.6%. Volumes 375, and it's batch X. It's calling it a 113.8 proof at a alcohol content of 56.9, and those numbers are written on the label in Sharpie.
So I'm not questioning the flavor of it at all. I would love to taste it. That's a pretty low rye content for a rye.
Yeah, but it does make it a rye.
It does technically make it a rye.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I'm not big on rye, so the less rye, the better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it. I
it's
love it. I want
it's-
95, 100% rye.
it
Yeah,
is
you're an
it's
iPhone guy.
It tastes like
he
drinking.
is an iPhone guy, isn't he?
No, it's like tasting.
Says
it's
the
like,
guy who's sitting on an iMac.
Yep.
True.
But no, like, if you get a good high rye content, you get like the cigar wrapper flavor, and I love that.
Yeah.
Love it.
From the Scotch guy.
Yeah.
Peasant scrotums.
Yep. Devil's anus.
Regardless of how much booze has flown at a hang for any of us, none of us have been to the point of Mike Lyle at a Trailheads hang drunk.
I wasn't there.
Oh, is Glenn still on? I don't know.
What?
The last
I
time
haven't seen Glenn come up.
was that Frozen Butt down in South
No.
Carolina?
Frozen
No,
butt.
Glenn. Yeah, Glenn messaged
When you
me
took the
to
fire
give him a
over on
call.
Randall?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, when you
I
lit
was-
Randall on fire.
So listen, there were shirts made about that, right?
There's just,
Yeah, there are.
Yep.
Here's the thing. Like I was hoping this question would come up. I was like, does like falling into your hammock and just draping your quilt over you when your pants are around your ankles keep you warm? The answer is yes. If you're drunk
If you have
enough.
Richard snuggling with you.
If you're drunk enough.
Dave was like, at one point in the night, Dave was like, Corkin stole my legs.
He did. He did. You man.
There was a lot drank that night.
There was. I don't have anything to say in my own defense except I was.
Oh God.
I've never walked in so many circles in my life.
And I'm just glad that Randall's alive.
I feel bad about it. I do.
Hey, Jackie
he's
just joined the room.
He brought those
Right there.
pants to HangCon for you.
Just to rub it in my face again.
Just to wear them around you.
I feel so bad about that. I really do.
It looks
But I feel bad about it.
like what a great night though.
God, what were you? You were mixing like.
I made old fashions all night until we went through like 7 or 8 fifths of whiskey. Good whiskey.
And then we went to tequila.
Jackie, we made it an hour and a half on topic before it went off the rails.
Aw.
We got
It was a
everything
2
I
hours.
wanted to talk about before I decided to let it fly off the rails.
Hey Jackie.
He's gonna edit it down to the real thing.
Jackie's been
Oh no,
there-
no! We're still live.
Oh, that's cool. I mean,
This
when
is all live. Your hate for Missouri, live.
Jackie
I'm sticking by it. I'm not.
Jackie was there for the pepper pot.
I don't like Kansas City Missourians. Go fuck themselves.
Jackie made the pepper pot shirt.
Jackie was there for the pepper pot.
How did I not?
Hey, this one lasted about 2 hours before we went off.
How did I not start singing Pepper Pot, Pepper Pot, Pepper Pot Pie?
You did.
Did I? Good for me then.
Good for me then.
AJ played CLR with us at HangCon for sure. That's where the $3 comes from, Pickle.
Yeah, I know where the $3 comes from.
Hey, Jackie, how did the dragon turn out? It looked awesome.
Oh man, that thing! I followed that. I watched that thing on Facebook develop. That is amazing.
That was awesome. She did a good job with that.
Can we just add Jackie into the conversation now?
Hey, yeah, let's just bring her on.
You want me to bring her in?
See if she can.
She's going to be sober though. It might bring it down.
No, I don't.
Might bring it down.
I'm not sure. Oh gosh, something keeps every time I'm like, oh, I gotta go. Something comes back in and pulls us back around.
It's a bourbon.
Bourbon.
So Don, I talked to Warren today about Maha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to discuss it more tomorrow, but I think we need to do it.
All right, I'm there.
I mean, we ain't seen y'all in forever, man.
I know.
Year.
Longest year ever.
It's like tearing me up.
Terrible. It's been terrible.
I'd love to join y'all, but
if we can't do Maha, then I say we meet somewhere in the middle and we just hang for a weekend.
I know where the middle point is.
I've offered. Y'all tell me when you got trees.
Right.
I'm down with
And
that.
I'll make sure the security cameras are turned off.
Dosey, you're exactly right.
We did good. We really did behave ourselves.
I am. Yes, I am. This.
I feel like we did good for as
We all
long.
did good.
We
So,
also
we take pity on
through all
Pickle.
of it had a solid 28-30 viewership the entire time too.
Yeah.
Which I was.
And I will say that if you want something to go off rails, or if you want to have a good time, just find out when us and the Jacks and all these guys, Pickle and John, whenever we're going to hang out, it's going to be a good time. There's no doubt. Look at that.
Incoming!
Oh,
Well, it looks like everything just got prettier up in here, didn't it?
You're just trying to kiss up for showing for having better things to do than come to South Carolina.
Man, I wish yeah.
I don't know.
It's all good. So you guys stayed on track for a whole hour and 45 minutes?
I was thinking 2 hours,
Amazing, right?
but maybe an hour and 45 minutes. Dosey probably knows.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, we
And
we are
you know what? In their defense, this whole conversation started in the green room at about 6:15.
I do believe I saw a couple of pictures posted.
Yep. I threw out a couple early posts on that to where the party started early on this one and has ran late. So
Fair enough.
Don, when did we go for lunch?
11:30.
11:30.
We started at 11:30.
Fair enough. So I just wanted to tell Dave and Dawn that that grumpy little dragon lady loves that quote y'all made her. Thanks for keeping her
Awesome.
warm.
So happy.
Much more pleasant to camp with when she's warm overnight.
Yes,
Amazing how that works.
it's amazing. So wait, so the real test will be, when will you guys hang close to each other now?
Oh, that is happening.
We win.
It's like 3 weekends, I think.
Oh
We
my-
will camp together in 3 weekends, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Not this weekend, not the next week, but the following weekend.
The world is
Yeah,
the
we're
world is
sharing a
literally
camp
turned
city
upside
event.
down. That's awesome. I'm glad she likes it. That's good.
It is.
It's not too short for her.
So Richard asked about the dragon. The dragon will be making a permanent home at our local library youth room. So he will be becoming a piece of wall art and decoration there.
Sweet.
Awesome.
It was very fun to have him marching up and down Myrtle Beach State Park.
That's super cool. Did you guys get like a bunch of like different homeschool families together to do Chinese New Year? Or was that the idea of it?
That was our Chinese New Year celebration. We belong to a co-op where a bunch of families get together and we break the kids down into classes, and that was our festival. Is everybody was learning about Chinese New Year for the month, and I wanted to go big. I like festivals. It's my favorite part of co-op.
It was pretty awesome.
Thank you. A lot of work went into it. It was a fun build.
Oh wait, Pickle's going from 1994 to 2004, from like skater haircut to man bun. I like it.
Typical
You got
hipster.
a little fluffy tufts going on there, Pickle.
Is it called a man bun or a bitch biscuit?
I think you could call it either.
Bitch biscuit now. I never heard that before.
Y'all got quiet now that I'm here. What's up with that?
The man bun did it.
We've been going for 2.5 hours.
So will there be old fashions at the next hang you're at, Richard?
Am I going to be there?
I hope so.
Will there be old fashions if you're there?
If I'm there,
Lord, I hope so.
there. What do you want? What do you like to drink?
I liked your old fashions. They were tasty.
Then there'll be old fashions. If you want something else, let me know. You want Bloody Marys for breakfast?
Oh.
No more pepper pots.
Do we even know what's in the pepper pot?
Dave is responsible
Everybody
for the
else
pepper
remembers it, Dave. Everybody. You were the only one who doesn't, honey.
If anyone remembers my behavior, I don't remember what was in those.
Dave's like, these are so good. I was like, are they? He's like, they're peppery. They're delicious. I was like, we're going to make pepper pots then.
I got
If you ever
the
try
impression
to
that
pepper
there
pot
was
sober, you don't want one.
it was what an old fashioned but made with tequila.
It was Patron tequila. So it was good tequila, but it was not good.
I stick by. I would like to try one at the beginning of the night.
Done.
You mean at the beginning of the hang?
Yes. So before drunk,
Not the beginning of the
I'll
night.
make you one sober.
Hi, little one.
So that's Miss Jackie.
She is adorable.
Yep.
I remember you from Thanksgiving.
My bad.
That's Jackie.
What's up?
That's Richard.
Are you the guy that can run the backhoe and the skid steer?
Yeah, there's lots of people on there, huh?
How can we do that? Can we all...
I'm not here.
He's trying to figure out who's talking. He can't see the mouths move.
Gotcha.
He hears voices, and he's trying to figure out who it is that's talking.
It's hard.
Chris doesn't count. He knows Chris's voice.
Yeah, I don't count. I never count.
All right, go watch your show.
Jackie, next thing, old fashions
Old fashioned.
and cheerleader shots.
All right. I want to know how long that beard's been growing, Corkin.
How fancy is that?
I've been off work. I've been on. I've had shoulder surgery, so I've been off 5 months.
So that's 5 months? Okay.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Your video is not very crisp. I mean, it's
Mine?
not doing justice. Like, can you pick up your? It's so manicured. Did you like?
This is how it grows.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. I brushed.
No, it's not. Yeah, it is.
Beard oil involved.
Trust me, I understand.
I just brush it.
I have an afro on the bottom side of my head.
Yeah, well, this is how mine grows. Now I've got a straightener, but this isn't straight.
I have a straightener. Do you have like the little cripper irons from the 80s for the girls?
No.
Yeah.
No, this is
a cripple with it.
I know you do.
And a hot
But
comb.
this isn't straightened. This is. I woke up this morning. I put some oil in it and brushed it, and then I brushed it right before we came on and put a little bit of.
Because you spent
Beard oil. I knew it.
last night.
Yep.
It's fancy though. I appreciate. You got that like nice high and tight on the side though.
I just got that. I got this done for this.
Yeah, he got cleaned up for this.
Where'd
Don go?
I didn't do that.
I called Randall's ex-wife and said, "Hey, I need a haircut." And I said, "I've got this video thing I'm doing on Thursday, so this was on Tuesday." And George Washington said, "Don't get a haircut on the day of your event." And so on it was Monday. It was actually Monday, and so I went up there and got it done. But the beard is just how it is.
It looks good.
Classy man.
I appreciate it.
I've got like a Spaceballs hat.
I like it when your beard gets long. It looks like a teddy bear, man. Like I want to snuggle you.
It's good. Do you remember that old Cheers episode when they had the beard growing contest?
No.
It's really obscure. I would fucking kill that contest though. I'm just saying. Look it up.
I will.
Yep. We lose Don's sound.
Yeah, something.
I am back now.
Oh,
all right, we hear you.
His name is no sound now.
Headset,
my headset went down, but I am back.
Oh my gosh. So when are we all gonna get together? Like when?
Dude,
sounds like Maha.
Like I'm so ready.
I think Maha, but when are we gonna like?
I thought y'all were coming to HangCon. I made up hats. Like I'm getting prepared for this. I'm like, I'm gonna make Don and Dave a hat. Like I'm gonna do this. Like, and I went and bought $500 worth of whiskey. I'm like,
your partner
Don and Dave are gonna be there, and I'm so happy about this. And then like, what was it, Don? Like the day
you're driving down, you're like, where are you at? I'm like, I'm in Unionville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Like, what time you leaving?
You sent a message to me. I'm like, he's like, when are you getting here? I'm like, and I walked over to Don. I'm like, does Corky not know we're not coming? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like,
so I texted Warren. I'm like,
me and Randall were like, the day before, we're like, we're gonna be with the JRB guys. We're high fiving and stuff. And then when I got there to pick up Randall, I was like, so I got some bad news. He's like, what? I was like, Jackson better ain't gonna be there. He's like, what? It's like, I know, dude. Like, this is horrible. Like, I was
grown-ass men crying in their beer all the way south.
Yeah.
Explains why they were acting the way they were when we got there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Don told Warren like 3
months before.
Yeah.
I don't know why Warren didn't tell me.
Because he thought it was funny.
Because he's like, he might not go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've got to get together, guys.
I know, man. Get down. I think South Carolina makes sense.
Missouri would be a good spot.
No, we're not going to Missouri. We're not going to any goddamn Missouri. I'll drive straight through and go to Kansas, but I'm not going to Missouri.
I thought it was misery.
It pretty much is.
Drive through it is misery.
I mean, there's certain spots, but if you go across on 70, there's nothing good in Missouri there. Bunch of two-faced lying, no good people.
I mean, you know, we do it all the time, but Asheville's
amazing.
Yeah,
Asheville's a pretty good sense of
Hey, we could just park it one weekend on the west rim of the gorge.
I'm in.
Fun. Yep, that'd be good.
I mean, whatever. I mean, it seems like we always, you know, just us meet up at Asheville and going to PSH hang or whatever. But
now, if you just want to meet up in Asheville and then stumble 30 minutes south to Brevard and Pisgah, we could do that as well.
Yeah. Or when's the next PSH hang?
Do what?
The next PSH hang is April 22nd through the 25th. It's the same weekend as Maha.
Oh man.
Yep.
Well,
Pisgah sounds wonderful.
That does actually.
Pisgah would work.
It'd actually be nice to have like a non-group hang. You know,
Just a
You mean individuals?
just a let loose.
An unstructured hang?
a low key. Yeah.
A low key invite only. Certain people show up and don't say anything about it. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Never works. Everybody says something about it at the end.
I don't know, but I mean, I love all the hangs we go to. I love everybody, but I miss the JRB guys. Like we've gotten used to hanging a couple times a year and hitting Nashville or wherever. And
Dave, the good stuff's down low.
You are 100% correct. That's why I said if you go through Missouri on 70.
You had to get him
Is
going.
that what you said, Dave? Because I thought you said I can't stand Missouri. That's what I remember.
I heard a whole state.
No, I'm reeling it back. Because there's some wonderful parts.
Hey, Pickle.
What I focused on.
Brady Bunch moment?
Yeah.
How you doing, Pickle?
Look over. Yeah.
Hey, trailheads.
Hey, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie. Hey, Corky. Oh, it was backwards though. That's fun.
Am I the Dave on this deal?
Hey, Dave.
What was her name?
No, you're Jan.
I'm Jan. Okay. Well, she was a good-looking sucker, so that makes sense.
Marsha.
Off the rails yet?
Off the rails? We're talking about the Brady Bunch.
Totally legit. Jackie,
Okay, I'm gonna go.
the thing is, Jackie.
Hey, Jackie. Thanks for coming.
Jackie.
Good night, Jackie. Thanks for
Good
swinging
night.
by.
I was gonna let Dave finish what he's saying.
Next
Why?
time we do this, you should be the one who just does the whole talk because you probably know more than all of us.
Yeah, and just let us drink.
So,
We'll make comments.
Jackie, tell everybody everything.
She knows more about quilts than us anyways. It's cool.
Let Jackie do it.
All right, Jackie. Old fashions and cheerleader shots next time.
And everybody wears something different because nobody wants the same thing. Y'all would be in the same position.
Exactly.
You'd be a nerd. Welcome to my world. All right, y'all have a good night.
All right. Have a good
Bye,
night.
Jackie.
All right.
Ugh.
All right. I got to piss.
Yeah, I say we call it. Folks, for the 10 or so souls that are still hanging out with us, I appreciate you. I'm sorry you had to endure that. If you think it's bad on a podcast when we're not like all in the same general location, you should see us at a hang because
Y'all need to come to a hang
really-
if you haven't been to one.
Yep. Because
It's a
this
good
is
time.
kind of the shenanigans that go on, except it's a
Worse.
lot more closer and personal and interpersonal and
More fire.
more fire, water,
Get mad about all this. Bye.
more threats. So
Lighting people on fire since 2019.
yeah, that's right. All right, thanks guys.
Y'all have a good
Catch
night.
y'all later,
Bye.
See y'all.
folks.
See y'all.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.